Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And we're back with part 3, counting down our top 100 favorite films of the decade. Emphasis on favorite here, folks. That's right. Dragon, this is a project that's literally been a decade in the making for me, and I'm thrilled to finally get kind of past the halfway mark on it. Man, I can kind of see the end in sight for this project, Dragon. I'm really excited about it. So just to remind the people at home, Dragon pretty much, he did the logical thing and was like, you know what, man, I'm not going to restrict myself to numbers and rules. I'm just going to go with my heart's content and just do whatever the heck I feel like putting on there. And me, Dragon, I had a couple criterias. Mostly, though, my criteria was 10 movies from each decade. That really caused a challenge in my list, and it really caused some interesting things to happen with my list. Specifically, folks, so far, the only real thing you need to know is that 2011, outside of a few outliers here, 2011 was mostly taken off the board in the first part. Wasn't that right, Dragon, on my end?
Yeah.
Something like 8 2011 movies ended up in the first part. Like, it really, in Survivor terms, it was a real pagonging of 2011 movies. So 2011, by my end, kind of mathematically, by all intents and purposes, I think was the weakest decade of film. The weakest year of film in this decade. So, all right, without further ado, Dragon, let's get into it. Folks, I'm sorry, I don't have, like, a running tally of like how many films are left. How many films are left for each year for me. And that's something I should be doing in this podcast. So by the time we get to the next part, folks, I should have those stats up for you, like how many films, per entry, like if you're into that kind of like statistic nonsense. Anyways, Dragon, let's jump right into it. Who do you want to start with?
Well, I mean, are you really excited about your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, or?
Well, let me see. Let me check. I'm just pulling up my list right now. My end of the rainbow. Let's see. It's 41, right?
Yeah, we ended 41. Yeah.
Dragon, the thing that I have at 41 is something that you also have on your list.
Oh. All right. Well, I guess in that case, so basically you should go first then, right?
I would recommend we end on you, which would mean I would go first.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, folks. Sorry, a little inside baseball here before we get going. This is something we should have figured out.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do it then. Let's do it. I'll switch over to Midge. I will get the ticker ready, and without further ado, folks, hold on to your hats. It's going to get dicey. Let's get to my number 60. Number 60, Dragon, of course, a movie that is near and dear to my heart. It's one of the foundations of the channel. It is the namesake of like one of the first podcasts of the channel. It's Saving Mr. Banks. Saving Mr. Banks. I was about to call it Talking Mr. Banks, and that would have been really embarrassing. Saving Mr. Banks, Dragon, number 60. Lands on number 60 on the spot on the list. I had to give it I wanted to put this one higher, Dragon. I really did. This one does have a lot going for it. I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, but this is why it's not up higher. I don't know what to tell you. It was a really strong decade in film. Certain films hit harder, but I mean, for what it is, it's just a really. I believe you already covered it on your list, right?
No, I haven't covered it yet. No.
Oh, it's still on the table for you.
Yes, we're not getting to it yet.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, with Saving Mr. Banks for me, I think. I think the main appeal of it is, of course, that kind of like back and forth storytelling of the childhood of P.L. Travers, mixed with the Walt Disney stuff and the giving up the rights. And Dragon, it's a story that I wanted. I think it's a perfect story to tell with Walt Disney. I really do. I think it was the perfect like starting point for a Walt biopic. And man, I don't know what else to say. I think Colin Farrell's really good in the role, of course. I think Colin Farrell's probably even better than Tom Hanks. I think Colin Farrell, honestly, is probably better than both of the leads. He just really kind of swoops in and steals the show. And then, of course, the bank song, man, the bank song. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Very sentimental, very warm-hearted. A really, really good movie. I honestly can't really justify having it this high on the list or this low on the list, whatever you want to make of that. Like I said, it's just, certain movies just kind of hit me harder. So here it lands kind of in the middle. All right, Dragon, your number 60.
All right, my number 60. And again, folks, not much criteria. Just I really adhered to the keyword favorites. So basically, I'm trying to rank them. Basically, it's kind of a mixture of. I'm trying to rank them a little bit by quality, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of deferring to just kind of like how much I really like them. And so I'm kind of favoring a little bit more towards the favoritism, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And as I've said,
just for confirmation, I'm sorry. Saving Mr. Banks, 2013.
Yes, good. We get those years in there, buddy boy. Good.
I know.
Anyway, so God, what was I? Right. Anyway, my point is, folks, of course, as always with this, I will go to bat for any of these movies. The point is, they made the 100, folks. They made it. Okay, so even if it was number 100, I would still go to bat for any of these movies. Again, there are even some that couldn't make the list.
Greg, and that's kind of the challenge I'm having with talking about, especially these middle ones. With these middle ones, it's like, oh man, I love them, and I don't really have much to say against them. It's so all right.
I mean, I adore all my middle ones here. I really do. And then we're going to get basically, folks, imagine we get to the next list.
Here's how I kind of picture it. This right now is kind of like the middle podcast. This is kind of the heart of our series right here. This is 3 out of 5. Dragon, the first 2, I honestly kind of feel like are more honorable mentions categories. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but again, respectable honorable mentions.
Respectable. Yeah. And then I would say the next 2 are going to be when things really start to get serious. That's when we're going to really start to get into like the classics and just the stuff that really stuck with us personally and really just made an impact, With these, though, these middle ones are just really, really great movies that we really enjoyed. So that's kind of what I'm sticking to. All right. I'm sorry.
But again, folks, you can go to bat for any of these guys any day of the week. I really would. All right.
Absolutely.
Number 60, Searching from 2018.
All right. I'm so glad you had this on the list. I was so pleased. I couldn't find a spot for it on my list myself. But go ahead, by all means. This is a personal favorite of mine. It was definitely in contention for making the list for me.
Yeah, so of course, Searching, it's a mystery movie with a brilliant gimmick with kind of the POV of the internet, kind of laptops, computers, social media, so on and so forth. It's kind of a brilliant, gimmick in that regard, brilliant kind of sell. It's a father doing all he can to find his daughter, and not just the violent taken way either. Not the violent taken method, which is quite refreshing, I must say. It's the best John Cho. Is it John Chow or John Cho? I think
John Cho.
It has to be Cho.
Yeah.
Of course. I think of all the other Chos I know. Yeah, it's always Cho. What am I doubting? Anyway, point being, John Cho. One of his finest, easily his finest performance, the best performance I've seen from this actor.
No question, yeah.
Definitely a new Father's Day film for sure. Like, add to the list of all the great Father's Day movies, truly. This film, I was riveted by this movie. Again, I love the style in which it was presented. I'll admit there are a few kind of things that are a little convenient, but given context in the film, it's like, well, I mean, I guess I buy it. So the point being, it's a very solid film. I kind of put it towards the bottom of things because more like, I love the presentation, and I think I love the filmmaking more than I would revisit the movie, but it's not. But it's quite good. Searching, I love it.
All right, cool. Moving on to my list. My number 59. Let me switch the ticker over. 59. My number 59, Dragon, is Beasts of the Southern Wild from 2012. Do you know a damn thing about this freaking movie?
I'm going to take a wild guess. Is it the photo with the giant boar-like creature? Is that the one?
Correct. That's a good assumption.
That's all I got.
So, Beasts of the Southern Wild is a post-Hurricane Katrina movie drenched in magical realism, which I love. It's got a fantastic score. Honestly, one of my favorite, like Dragon. There's one piece of music called "There Once Was a Hush Puppy" that is honestly up there with Bundle of Joy in terms of like my favorite like single tracks of score in this decade. Like it's really up there, man. It really gets me pumped up. Dragon, this is all about New Orleans rebuilding itself in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. It's a very community driven film, but it's also kind of got that Mark Twain vibe going for it, where this little girl's going on a journey on a raft with her father. There's some really tragic things that happen along the way, some really uplifting things that happen along the way. Like I said, the score is incredible and really kind of the driving force of the whole film. It's definitely got some magical realism stuff going on. I just adore this movie, man. I really this is one of those that I really wanted to get as high as I could, just because I feel like it is underappreciated. It's one of those movies. I believe I heard about it from like someone like Chris Stuckman or something like that, you know, who kind of just recommended it on his channel on a whim. And I was like, ooh, I got to check that out. That sounds really good. And indeed, it was really good. And it stuck with me, man. It really did. Especially that score. That score is just, I can't say enough nice things about the score in this movie. I'm not going to lie. I will say in some spots, the plot is, you know, it's not the most even plot in the world. There's some plotting issues it has. It doesn't have a fantastic pace from beginning to end. It's very much kind of a road movie that kind of starts and stops. But man, just the vibe it gives off and just how real everything feels. And it is just this great cinematic testament to the triumph of New Orleans post Hurricane Katrina. Can't say enough nice things about it. Oh, and also the actress in it. The actress, Quinn Andromede. I can't say it. Black Annie.
You mean, oh, just to be clear, you mean from the Black Annie?
Yeah, she is Black Annie. Yeah. And frankly, I think Black Annie killed this actress's career. She is absolutely wonderful in this movie. I can't say enough nice things about how good she is in this movie. And she even got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for this. And I think she totally deserved that. I think to this day, she's the youngest person to be nominated for an acting award in the Oscars history. So yeah, definitely lean into that. It's I mean, this is a fantastic film, Dragon. I think you'd like it. I think you'd get something out of it. All right. Number 59, Dragon.
We should also shout out the Mandalorian in the comments. Love your show. No, but
Mando. Hey.
Mando. Just saying hello to us, so hello right back at you. Okay.
All right.
Number 59 from me is Marriage Story from 2019.
Okay, nice.
Yes. So of course, I think we can all agree Noah Baumbach, he perfected the cinematic depiction of divorce here. You know, it's kind of a modern update on Kramer versus Kramer, is the way I've always kind of referred to Marriage Story, and that was kind of the big sell for me. Oh God, he's doing the new Kramer versus Kramer for the next generation. Look at him go. Really, what's so great about this movie is it shows you the brutal intimate struggle of divorce. Like, it's not just like Baumbach has shown it from the kid's perspective, and rather darkly from the kid's perspective. But what we see here is kind of the struggle and the toll on the parents, which again, I don't want to just go to it just for the sake of comparison, but again, it's like something you don't really get a true glimpse at since like a Kramer versus Kramer. See just the sheer toll it takes on the parents. But here it's like both parents are kind of the Dustin Hoffman character. That's the frustrating part.
It does a really good job of kind of just like there is no bad guy and there's also not really a good guy either.
I'm saying they're both very flawed characters, and they're both somewhat at fault, and it's quite fascinating. It's like,
if anything, you're just rooting for the kid.
Absolutely. I mean, Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson are brilliant in the film. And of course, from what I hear, this parallels.
Dragon, I'm gonna give you all a hot take All right, I think Adam Driver was robbed of Best Actor. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix was great. His performance was fine. I don't think it was better than Heath Ledger, honestly. And I just think Adam Driver just brought something really new and raw to this. I mean, this was like freaking like, I don't know, Dragon. Seeing Adam Driver in this movie was kind of like seeing a new definition of method acting. I mean, he is just going for it.
I mean, Driver definitely he was. If Phoenix didn't get it, Adam Driver absolutely should have gotten it. Driver he brought such a wonderful sense of humanity and just relatability to the film. I mean, what he did just is specifically, like, I love the scenes where he's trying to teach his son at the same time, and also just like life is just beating him down at every opportunity. And this is what I'm talking about. This is like the psychodrama of divorce, where again, it's like you see like just a little manipulation scene, and he's in a tailspin, he doesn't know what's happening after he and his wife had a very amicable plan that just went to heck. From what I hear, this paralleled Baumbach and Jennifer Jason Leigh with their marriage, which kind of weighs down all these kind of films about divorce. Again, I think the best thing I can say about Marriage Story is it has the tension and the mundane workings of divorce. They're simply amazing. Of course, like the supervised visit just to kind of like glean how the kids take into the divorce and everything, which of course leads to some
supervised visit is like Jesus Christ. Ugh.
That's what I'm saying.
Man.
Like, that scene is like the tensest scene in the movie. It's so low stakes and mundane.
The knife scene, Dragon. The knife scene might be the scariest scene in any movie of the decade, and it's not even a horror movie.
And I love like little details, like the earlier punch in the wall during like the big iconic like kind of scene between he and Johansson. Of course, that one thing like, oh god.
All right. Look, this movie is also on my list. All right, so
you're right. You're right. My point is, there's a lot of stuff I'm sure we're going to kind of get into with his stuff too. It's just Marriage Stories is quite fantastic. I just don't find it as it's such a draining kind of almost cathartic like event, man. It's like it's kind of hard to go back to, but it's excellent though. Marriage Stories wonderful. Okay.
I mean, I will agree it's not the most rewatchable. I'll definitely attest to that.
Yeah, but again, it blows you away for sure.
Oh yeah. Okay, Dragon, number 58 for me. One of the best in-theater experiences I've had this decade. This is definitely one of the defining horror movies of the decade. It's A Quiet Place. Oh, yeah. So you obviously know it from the Just Giggle It parody, but A Quiet Place, man, this is honestly not one that I'd go back to. But I have to put it on my list. Because that theater experience was so intense, Dragon. The hype around the Quiet Place theater experience with, like, oh, you don't want to be munching your popcorn or you don't want to be the one coughing or even breathing too loudly in that theater. Dragon, the hype was real and then some, all right? I was in a room full of, like, drunk 27 adults, and we were all just on the edge of our seats, just completely sucked into the theater experience. Like, all right, like we literally, this is it, man. We cannot make a sound or we are dead. Dragon, I will admit, I can't see that working in like just watching this movie on Netflix or something. I really can't. This movie, it's good. I look forward to seeing what they do with the sequel. There's definitely some good performances in it and good moments of tension. But Dragon, this is, I would say, this is probably the movie on my list that I'm putting on almost strictly for the in-theater experience. And the in-theater experience was like a haunted house thrill ride in its own right, man. I mean, oh God, like, I mean, I don't think it's that, I really don't think it's that great of a movie, but just the in-theater conceit of like, all right, we're fucked if we make a noise. And we're part of it. Oh, it was great, Dragon. It was wonderful. It gives me chills thinking about it. So fun. Such a good night at the movie theater. All right. So, Dragon, going back to you. What do you got?
All right, number 58 from me. Just one word, folks. Shazam! From 2019. So Shazam,
definitely another one that was in contention for me.
Oh, certainly. It's just it's so right in the world that the original Captain Marvel beat out the new one. I just want to say that because I love saying it. I just love the fact that like the one who stole like Captain the modern Marvel one essentially kind of stole the original's name and just it's nice. Like they were stuck with just the name Shazam, but they made the most of it. Man, they did. Um, so look, this movie captures the fun of DC and it's like all the possibilities of all these great DC characters and these fun takes on them. Again, like the Jeff Johns take on the Shazam story. It sold me on the magic as well. Because magic's always been a dicey thing with me, and Doctor Strange really warmed me up to kind of magic a little bit more. And you have something like this. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it really sells you on the magic as well. Kind of keeping it really simple and just kind of really pairing it with kind of like the childlike shenanigans or the Shazamigans, if you want to look at it that way. I gotta tell you, Zach Levi, and then just the sheer Shazamigans are quite delightful. I mean, it's the fun montages, the illogical logic of what would a kid do if he were in this situation, all the big like shenanigans he could get away with is what a kid would do with these powers, and it's just wonderful. But as fun as the movie is, there's this great theme of the unconventional family. There's a lot of heart there. There's a lot of heart, particularly some heartbreaking moments in the scene with Billy's mom, and like, oh god, it's like the scenes with Billy Batson's mother are just like enough to like how can you gotta be made of stone not to feel something in those scenes. And DC they needed a win, and this was absolutely was it. This absolutely was the win they needed. It's kind of like the new standard you kind of want for them going forward. If right now they're in kind of
definitely,
like this,
for sure.
They're in kind of this gray zone right now of like, well, we're just kind of playing it fast and loose going forward. What Shazam was like the perfect note of like, again, it's just enough in the one category, but also it's perfectly just kind of like outside. Like we just want to do stories, man. We don't be bogged down by connectivity and all that sort of stuff. We're doing Joker next. We're going wild with everything. Let's just go for it. And they did. And this one was fun. They made Dr. Sivana cool. Dr. Sivana. Oh my God, Dr. Sivana. He's never been cool ever, and they made him awesome. Anyway.
All right. So moving on, in my number 57. Let me just get the ticker here. Sorry, my number. Oh boy, Dragon. This is one that you are. Honestly, folks. Okay, first of all, A Quiet Place 2018. For this one, we're going to go all the way back to 2010. This is the first of two Michael Cera movies from 2010 that are going to be on the list. Dragon, I will admit, out of every single one of my movies on this list, this is the most personal, like, absolute guilty pleasure favorite, all right? Like, this isn't quite me putting Serenity on the list, but it's not a great movie, but I fucking love it. It's Youth in Revolt from 2010. Dragon, one thing that this movie gave us was Portia Doubleday, who would, of course, later go on to be in Mr. Robot, so that's cool. But other than Portia Doubleday and Michael Cera, this movie's got a great supporting cast. We've got Ray Liotta, we've got Steve Buscemi, we've got Justin Long, who shows up for a really, really great role as the love interest's older brother. I mean, it's Dragon. This movie's a lot of fun, man. And of course, the big conceit of it is that Michael Cera has to create an alter ego for himself because, of course, he's just, meek, unconfident Michael Cera. So he creates the alter ego of Francois Dillinger, the lady-killing Francois Dillinger. And Dragon, the alter ego of Francois Dillinger and how they do it in the movie, how he kind of, I will say, it kind of reminds me of the Hitler interactions in Jojo Rabbit, the way that Francois is kind of like this bad influence on Michael Cera, and he's just kind of like, he's literally burning bridges for Michael Cera, kind of just like, I'm going to get you in a shit ton of trouble, but it's all about getting the girl, and that's what you want, right? To get the girl, that's why you created me. And Dragon, I think that this movie is a really, really interesting take on toxic masculinity as well. And I feel like if people revisit it, I don't know how they would feel, but there's some interesting takeaways with it. There really are. I don't think this movie glorifies this type of behavior by any extent. I think it very much is kind of like kind of like a fable of like how far will you go to get laid? You know what I mean? And so Francois does represent kind of like the Mr. Robot style dangerous alter ego that kind of gets into that. And also, Dragon, this movie, it's just Jesus Christ. It's based in Clear Lake, which is very close to me. The mother reminds me of my mother. Her boyfriend is Zach Galifianakis, and Zach Galifianakis reminds me of my mother's boyfriend. Just this movie is me. This movie is my life. All right, and that's honest to God, like probably why it's on here in the first place. This movie reminds me of my teenage years and how awkward I was and how I thought I needed to be someone else. And man, I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent with this one, but this is like one of the only chances I'm going to get to talk about this movie on the channel, and it honestly means a lot to me. It really does. Maybe not the most PC movie in the world. Like I said, I feel like it kind of toes the line from being a movie that is toxically masculine and a movie that is a commentary on toxic masculinity. I think there's a line towed there, but it's an interesting line. I do think it's Michael Cera's best performance. I really do. Especially from the Francois point of view. Francois is a great villain, also played by Michael Cera. So he really gets out of his comfort zone with this one. I think not enough people recognize it. Is it as good as the other 2010 Michael Cera movie? God, no, not by a long shot. But it's still a wonderful ride if you're up for something like this. All right, Dragon. I'm sorry I was so long-winded with that one. Let's get to yours.
All right, number 57 for me is War for the Planet of the Apes from 2017.
All right.
Yes. So this is oh goodness. So this is definitely this is the best of a solid franchise of the kind of the redone Planet of the Apes films. You have Rise, Dawn, and this. Definitely, I think this it's a solid franchise that Dawn's really good, but this takes the cake, no question. War is something else, man.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of people think Dawn is the best one, but I feel like you and I agree that this is the best one, just because it's got like some real Shakespearean oomph to it,
It does, man. Again, I do love Dawn. Honestly, I think all three of them are really good. I think they can't. Matt Reeves comes on by the time we get to Dawn.
I think the first one is the weak one, but that's honestly just because I think Draco Malfoy in that movie is really stupid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, of course, he's also in the Flesh, by the way.
Oh God. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so Matt, basically, in other words, if I had a shorthand for War for the Planet of the Apes, it's basically Matt Reeves' Batman audition. That's kind of the way I look at it. It really is. I mean, that in the most complimentary of ways. I mean, this is the big payoff as to how we get to Planet of the Apes. This is like this is the big payoff movie. I mean, we've been building it up, and of course, Dawn is definitely a big way in getting there. This is like the big we set everything in the motion here. I mean, we send the guy into space on the side. Like this is the one. Andy Serkis and Woody Harrelson, their scenes together are simply electric. I mean, basically, this movie's
and that's
all
what
about.
I'm saying, man. Like Gary Oldman was a good villain in Dawn, but like Woody Harrelson in this movie is fantastic. Just I don't think people talk enough about how good of a villain he is.
Doing like the whole Colonel Kurtz thing. It's great. Basically, this movie's about the complexities of war, and it's kind of like a revenge story in times of war, and it's a brilliant character study of the Caesar character. That's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, we have all these great things kind of put into play, like the simian flu and how it's connected within kind of the Nova character, who in this case is like the little girl that kind of Caesar takes a liking to, and he kind of looks out for, which is a beautiful story in itself. There's just so much going for this movie. It has a perfect ending with Caesar kind of leading this exodus to a promised land. Essentially, it's very biblical. The movie is biblical in all the right ways. It's just so there's so much going for it. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's funny every time I rewatch War for the Planet of the Apes. This is not knock against because I love this actor too. Because he's in a position of leadership, Andy Serkis is doing a great job. And again, it's a shame he wasn't nominated because he could have been because he was so good in this movie. But
he totally could have been, man.
Could have been. Here's the thing. Everyone talks about diversity in the Oscars, and that is very important, no question. But we got to break the mold and like, let's put circus in there, man. Let's put the effects guys in there, not getting that they're being unsung. That's how we got to go next level with that, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Kiefer, he sounds so much like Kiefer Sutherland from the great show, Designated Survivor, which he has like this great leader role as I'm on board with the whole premise of Designated Survivor. I won't go that tangent with it. My point is, I just hear Kiefer Sutherland in the role of like this this phenomenal leader in Caesar. So it's kind of like an extra like layer of like fun when I rewatch him. Like, oh god, he sounds so much like Sutherland. It's awesome. All right.
All right, so moving on up to number 56 on my list, Dragon. Oh boy, let's switch things over. And Dragon, this movie's from 2014. I have one word for you, Dragon. I have one word for you. One word, three very elongated syllables. You ready?
Okay.
Babadook. The Babadook from 2014. Man, this is an Australian horror movie that just kind of came out of nowhere and just rocked my world, man. This is absolutely one of the best horror movies of the decade. I do think it is I think it's absolutely one of the most symbolic movies, period, of the decade. I mean, this movie is just brimming with symbolism. It's just, it's so allegorical. It's all about kind of grief and, and guilt and just, man, I don't even want to get into the plot because the plot is just, so essentially the main woman in the movie, she's raising a kid alone because her husband died on the way to the hospital delivering the kid. So there's resentment there. There's a lot of resentment towards this kid because, like, the husband literally died trying to bring the kid into the world. And man, there's a lot of tension. It's all about exploring kind of like that like not only post, just being a widow, but being a widow who's also experiencing these postpartum things. And oh god, it is freaky, Dragon. It is freaky. It's definitely like Hereditary levels of scary. I will say that it does kind of get a little repetitive towards the middle parts, and I don't think I would rewatch this as much as I would rewatch something like Hereditary. But what does get this on my list for me, Dragon, is the book itself, this kid's book. You can see the that kind of like shadowy figure with the hat there. That's the Babadook himself. This kid's book that kind of brings everything to light. It kind of like, it's really just a metaphorical, like, hey, look at this creepy kid's book with this scary Babadook creature at the center of it. And then they read the kid's book, and then suddenly, like, bad stuff starts happening to them. But really, it's just kind of the aftermath of what they're experiencing, mentally and traumatically. And yeah, like I said, it's a deep watch. It's a hard sit. I doubt you'll ever watch it, Dragon. But I think for horror movie fans, it's just one more example of why this decade, honestly, might be the best decade in the history of film when it comes to horror. And that's a bold statement on my end. Dragon, I know you're a big superhero movie guy. I know you're going to have a ton of superhero stuff on your list. I feel like I'm the same way for horror movies. Like, this decade was defined by superhero movies for sure, but I feel like it was also defined by the reemergence of the old Hollywood, new Hollywood style horror movie, the art house horror movie, if you will. And the Babadook is a great example of that, my friend. All right, moving on, Dragon. What is your number 56?
All right. Number 56 for me, Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, another one that I'm really glad you had.
2018.
Nice.
All right.
Oh, and hey, really quick, we have Simba Trey in the comments here. Nice to see you, Simba Trey.
Simba.
He said, "Can't wait to see your top 10. Redemption better be in your guys' top 10. Can't wait to catch these YouTube streams. Redemption, Dragon. Do you know what he's talking about with Redemption?
Sorry, no. I got plumbed.
Well, there you go, some betray.
I'm sorry,
Can you
Redemption. It's
clarify?
a little vague. I got nothing. I'm
Is it
sorry.
just a movie that's just called Redemption?
Shaw. Oh, the Shaw.
Oh,
Wait. What? Wait.
oh, Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank
Well, I
Redemption.
can't. Well, it's not that. Well, it's not that I don't love Shawshank Redemption. Symmetry. It doesn't quite qualify what we're doing here. We're talking about
Yeah, this
the
isn't top
decade.
100 of all time. This is top 100 of the decade, like the
Yeah. So,
2010s.
sorry about
Yeah.
that. But again, trust me, we do
So
love it. The movie is great, though. I mean,
oh yeah,
I probably would make the list. I mean, if there were, I don't know.
I would say so. I would say
If we're
so.
like, if
I
we,
would say
yeah, Morgan
I wouldn't
Freeman,
say
yeah,
it'd be, yeah. I wouldn't say it'd be my top 10, but it would probably be my top 50.
it would probably make the list.
But no, Simba Trey, just to clarify, this is a 5-part series that we've been doing for 20 films apiece, where we count down our top 100 favorite films from the years 2010 to 2019. Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right. So, by all means, stick around if that sounds interesting to you. Anyways.
Anyway, so bad.
Right,
here's a movie
Dragon,
you should check out. Bad Times at the El Royale. So, of course, Drew Goddard.
This is another one that I'm really glad that you put on your list, because I was kind of fighting to put it on my list. I was kind of struggling with not putting it on my list.
So of course, Drew Goddard, name that I was very familiar with, with his work on Daredevil, one of the original showrunners on Daredevil, had a really integral role. I believe he directed, if not the first two. He was early on for the series. Point being, this is what Drew Goddard's been doing post Daredevil, and it's kind of like his audition for the Albuquerque verse for for like Better Call Saul or the future hold. Truly, this is just Drew Goddard's really impressing us all here. This
Absolutely is, man. This movie does feel like a cinematic Albuquerque verse movie.
The movie is a cross between two things. It's kind of a cross between like an Albuquerque verse audition, and it's very Tarantino-esque. It's almost like in the same way.
For sure.
I'm going to cite my previous list here. It's very similar to how I, Tonya is like a Scorsese movie on ice, where this is a Tarantino movie set at a very at a very memorable like kind of the California
I love
Nevada
the
border.
setting for this movie, Dragon. The setting for this movie is just absolutely on point. Like the casino that's literally on the edge of Nevada and California.
I love it.
So good. It's like a chef's kiss of like a great setting.
It's got a brilliant stationary location for sure. It's also where we get put the coins in the jars, folks. It's got a great cast. Shocker. No, it does have a great cast. You got John Hamm.
Okay, you know what? A great cast is one thing. This movie has great characters.
It does. As really,
and really that's the thing that I really want to underline with this.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, here's the thing. What also gets me, I love the story structuring of this film. That's what really kind of wins it on the list for me as well. I mean, outside just the insanely good premise of like, okay, we're all just going to the El Royale. There's some loot stash there. We got to get it like 10 years later. Point being, I love how our structure is kind of building to this caper and ultimately the kind of this really exciting, really tension-filled climax with a big surprise, and I won't spoil it in case anyone hasn't seen it, but it's quite exciting. It's some of Jeff Bridges' best work, possibly his best performance, but there's a lot of Jeff Bridges gold there, so I don't know if I can say that. The point being, this is some of Jeff Bridges' finest work, definitely for the decade. Hemsworth, basically we have Hemsworth as kind of a Manson, is kind of like a Manson with style. Though, like, what if Charles Manson had a little bit more swagger?
This is my favorite Chris Hemsworth performance, hands down.
Absolutely one of his finest performances. So basically, it's kind of playing off the notion everyone has secrets. You can't really trust anybody here. Everyone's got like a secret or a motivation. It's not quite like a who done it, but it's like a who wants it. That's kind of the best way to put it.
There's so many like great twists and turns. Like one character gets killed off really early that you think is going to be a lead character. God, this movie's. Honestly, I probably should have found room on my list for this movie, Dragon. I really should have.
Simple, we need more movies like this. Put simply,
absolutely.
All right, and again, Drew Goddard, he has my attention, man. Drew Goddard's he's always impressed me before, and he's still impressing me like that. Now I really want to see him actually do that Sinister Six movie. Like we're building to it now with Spider-Man. Let's give him a shot at it. Look what he did with multiple characters in a stationary location. Let's give it to him again.
All right, so my number 55, Dragon. This is easily one of the best comedies of the decade. Let's see. Let me make sure I know what year this is. 2013. It's This Is the End, my only friend,
I
the
actually did.
end.
I flirted with putting this on my list, but then I realized, oh god,
Did you?
I have to make such big cuts. I'm never gonna have any room for it. But I did.
I
Yeah.
mean, you knew it had to be on my list. Come on now. I mean, to me, this is the defining. I think this will always, to me, be the defining, like, James Franco, Seth Rogen, and company movie. I mean, man,
Yeah, basically an
talk
Evan
about a
Goldberg
movie.
production.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a movie that's just like a snapshot of a point in time. I think this movie kind of defines the decade in a lot of ways, almost, because I feel like this movie is very big on meta and meme humor, which of course defined the decade. I feel like this movie, obviously, it's very self-aware. Um, of course, it's got kind of that end of the world natural disaster sort of cynical tone to it, which I don't want to touch the political well too much, but it's hard times these days. We're not living in the best of times right now. This isn't the greatest timeline, especially for the I don't want to go too far
Basically,
into that,
don't
but you
kill
know
the
what I'm
actors,
talking
kill the
about.
suits. That sort of mentality. It's like don't kill the
Right,
actor.
right. So I feel like This Is the End encompasses a lot of that, man. I feel like when you look back on This Is the End, not only is it just a great farce of a movie where I feel like everyone is just on their A game, but Dragon specifically, I just think this is the movie that sold me on Danny McBride, hands down. Everything Danny McBride does in this movie just absolutely cracks me up.
My favorite gag is Paul Rudd running with that giant champagne, that giant champagne bottle.
God. And Dragon, I was tempted to put the Michael Cera bit in the thumbnail, but I was like, nah, that's too much Cera. I've already got 2 Ceras in this thumbnail. But the Michael Cera bit,
God,
I mean, come on.
multiplying.
Yeah, right. But the Michael Cera bit, come on, to me, that is like my favorite gag in the movie, hands down. The whole oh shit, here it is. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the in and out gag. I mean, come on, in and out.
Well, yeah, the in and out gag, sure. I mean, there's a ton of gags, Greg, and there's a million gags in this movie. I love the Pineapple Express 2 trailer. And I love all the character dynamics. I think everything works really well. I do think that Jay Baruchel is a little preachy in the movie, but I think that's kind of the point of the character, so it's not too bad. I think Jonah Hill is another one that I feel like this is probably like Jonah Hill's last big hurrah of like doing ridiculous over the top stuff like that before he kind of pieced out and became a serious actor. So yeah, man, this movie is just I mean, it's a farce. It's everything I love about 2010's comedy, like boiled down into a nutshell. Really is. All right. Okay, Dragon, you're number 55.
My number 55 is The Irish.
1955, the year Disneyland opened. Good year. Sorry, The Irishman. Okay.
The Irishman from 2019. So
Nice.
I tell you, man, nothing beats a good Scorsese film. Really, nothing beats it. I love him approaching one of these movies not just as the thing I've loved this thing for is it's not just approaching it purely as another mob movie, but it's a hitman caught up in the Hoffa affair. That's really what it is. It's a hitman caught up in the Hoffa affair and reflecting on his life towards the end of it. That's what the movie is. It's not just just one day he's gonna become part of the mob. It's not just like Scorsese's told that story already many times. He's told it very well.
I hear you paint houses.
Exactly. That's not only the source material, but it's the line that says it all. It's the coded. That's what I'm saying. Like the thing I love, my favorite thing about Scorsese movies, my favorite thing of what he does with his pieces is I love the conversational. I love conversational Scorsese, if you will. I love that's my favorite version. I love like there's a fish laid down the backseat of the car. Like we gotta lay newspapers or something down here. That's Scorsese to me. It's like that's what I live for. And it's like Tiki. If you look in the grand scheme of things, we don't have the dialogue we have in the Albuquerque verse without moments like this in film. Like this is what you live for.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like that, but also the tension. Like I hope I'm reflecting on the right thing here, but it's I'm pretty sure we did this in The Irishman. It's kind of a callback to some other stuff Scorsese's done in his work, which makes me a little curious because it feels so indicative of what he's done so many times before. I love the bit where we're hyping up the tension. There's a bit where like one of the wives gets in the car and like she's tense about turning the key because she's afraid there's a bomb in the car. It's like that's yes, that's everything I love in a Scorsese movie. And of course, like you look at Casino. Casino opens with De Niro basically putting the key in the car. That's what I'm saying. It's great. It's a lengthy sit for sure. It is, but
Again, I
again,
will say my biggest complaint is like, honestly, once we get into the Hoffa stuff, it's a roller coaster that doesn't let up until the last shot, man. It really is. Like once Hoffa gets into the picture, it's fucking wonderful.
I mean, again,
I just think I think rewatching the movie on Netflix, like I saw it first in theaters, and rewatching the movie on Netflix, man, it takes a while to get to Hoffa. And I think that's probably the movie's biggest flaw is how long it takes to get to Hoffa. Because once we get to Hoffa, it just shoots off. It's like there we go. Like that's it. That's the movie right there. You know what I mean?
yes. I mean, I got to be honest. Of course, my hope for Tom Hanks notwithstanding with the Oscars this year. I mean, Pacino really should have got it. I mean, I would have loved it if Tom Hanks got it. But that's it. Pacino really should have got it. Let's be honest. He was tremendous in this movie. Again, of course, I mean, the de-aging in the cast, and we can go on about that all day. But seriously, I mean, the performances were so great. It's a nice return to form to seeing like, all these greats in one movie. And he also had Cannavale and Romano in there, and they were great. I love the scene with Romano too. Just like again, the casual conversational Scorsese yet again, where it's like, "Well, do you want to know if I did or not?" It's like he's just on the edge of the seat. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know. It's great. Again, it's as I said, a lengthy sit, but it's the next Scorsese film of the decade. Nothing against like the previous works of Scorsese. It's like a true blue Scorsese film in all the ways, man. It just feels like it. There was something special about it, especially in my lifetime, being able to see like a Scorsese like that felt like the classic ones, just kind of like
totally.
And also, I mean, my grandfather. I'll mention this series. I don't have many occasion to bring this up. My grandfather, he adores the Martin Scorsese.
Aww,
I gotta tell you, my grandfather, since this came out, he's been watching this on a loop. I kid you not, he's been watching this movie on a loop like crazy. It's like every time I come over, like later, it's like it was just by his lunch, like over here, like God, he's watching. I'm hearing the same scenes again. He's watching on a loop, like the way we used to watch The Dark Knight when it came out. It's like, oh, God, he just keeps watching
it. All right, cool. All right, Dragon, number 54 for me. This is a movie where when I saw the trailers for it, I was honestly like, why are we doing this? Why? What's the point? We've already seen this premise done so many times before. And then it started getting hype and it started getting really good reviews. And I went in and what I saw was honestly one of the most compelling musical movies of the decade. And more than that, one of the more compelling pieces of, kind of an examination of alcoholism. And that's A Star is Born. Now, Dragon, this is one of those situations, much like Little Women, which, spoiler alert, is also on my list, higher up than this. Yeah.
And the year on this?
What?
And the year on this?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is, I believe it's, let me check. It's, 2018, and this is the end is 2013. Okay. So 2018 is A Star is Born. God damn, this movie's emotional. I mean, it is just it is packed with raw emotion, Dragon. This is oh man, I mean, this is like one of the most pure dramas of the decade, I would say. Just from top to bottom, it is just like you fall for this couple, but they are doomed from the offset, Dragon. You like from the very beginning of the movie, this guy is going to kill himself with alcoholism. And spoiler alert, he does exactly that by the end of the movie, but it's not really that much of a secret. And then the whole thing where it's like the rising star and her rising star comes at the cost of him and he's living in her shadow and yet they love each other. Dragon, I'm getting all mushy here, all right? I don't know what to tell you. This movie has been remade a million times for a reason and it works. It works so damn well. Bradley Cooper, I don't know where the hell he came from as a director, but he killed it. He knocked it out of the park with his directing. I mean, some of those concert scenes and some of those, and the way, like, not only are the concert scenes just filmed epic, I mean, I think the concert scenes in this movie, Dragon, this is a hot take that I'm going to stand firmly by. The concert scenes in this movie are me more epic and get me like more in the feeling like I'm there than the concert scenes of Bohemian Rhapsody do. All right, they're that good. And also the intimacy of this movie, obviously way better than Bohemian Rhapsody. The intimacy of this movie is just heartbreaking. And yeah, man, this is a ride that I love taking. And I walked out of this movie just being like, man, that was a movie where I wasn't expecting to love it at all, but I do. I mean, it rocked me, man. It really did. Like I said, it's not like an easy sort of like popcorn flick by any means, but it's a great heavy drama. It's a wonderful heavy drama. All right. Your number 54, Dragon.
Knives Out from 2019.
Hey, all right. Yeah, Dragon, I feel like your list here, this section is like a lot of my honorable mentions. Seriously, like between this, Shazam, El Royale, Knives Out, Searching, like we're kind of going down the list of my honorable mentions here. So go ahead.
Knives Out very much came a clue for the next generation, and I loved every minute of it. I really did. I had such a great. This is kind of my this is kind of your Quiet Place equivalent, man. The theatrical experience I had with this is just something that's unparalleled, man. It was one of my best theatrical experiences of 2019 because was able as my buddy and I we were speculating like, oh my god, you think it's this guy? We're kind of like we're just like geeking out like who it could be.
Who did you think it was?
Oh god, I mean now it's been some time, and now I'm just obsessed with the reveal. Now I'm just trying to think who I thought.
Oh, I know the reveal kind of puts everything like into. Forget I even asked that, man, because by the end, the reveal kind of like makes. That's the brilliant thing of the movie is that the reveal makes the whodunit of it all pointless, but you're still invested in it.
Exactly. So, point being, this is like a true cinematic experience. That's what this movie is. It's with kind of with a whodunit. It's Ryan Johnson. I think is honestly it might be the best thing I've ever seen Ryan Johnson do. Personally, I think this is fantastic. Not Ozymandias notwithstanding, because that's kind of a different effect.
Oh, Ozymandias, You know what? With Ryan Johnson, it's funny because I will agree that I do think that the top tier for him is Ozymandias, and honestly, I would throw The Fly in there as well for top tier.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the Breaking Bad. I guess as a whole, like the Breaking Bad stuff notwithstanding, if you look at his films, the films is like the best thing I've seen done in film.
I still have Last Jedi has not appeared on my list yet. Dragon.
Look, I agree. It's also good.
Suck it, fanboys. Suck it, fanboys. Your tears are delicious. I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My point is that Ryan Johnson, whatever you want to say, he knocked it out of the ballpark with this. He really did. I love all the players. Daniel Craig is fun. You have Evans. You got Michael Shannon. I love me some Michael Shannon. He was so
oh my god, yeah. Every time I think about Michael Shannon in this movie, I kind of crack up a little bit.
Just the way he shot down early in that act one is just it's so delicious. There are a lot of fun subversions along the way. It's taking the self-aware approach. Via the old. Via the mystery. Basically, we're self-aware in our approach via this whole mystery novel empire, which I think is one of those brilliant choices in the movies. Basically, get away with kind of some bigger than life things, but also we have like the interview framing device and like LeBlanc. It's like there's so much great stuff. I love this movie. I can't wait to rewatch it when it comes out in a couple weeks. I'm very eager about this movie. I love it. It came out just great. And it's just such a beautiful experience in the theater for me. I loved it.
Nice. All right, Dragon. My number 53. You want to rip the Band-Aid off now, Dragon? You want to rip the Band-Aid off?
No.
Number 53, fine. The Avengers.
Didn't even make the top 10. Well, the top, you know what I mean. The upper echelon.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. Dragon, I don't First of all, I think The Avengers obviously is a landmark movie, all right? I feel like if this was a best list, this would rank higher for me. I think the fact of the matter is there's a certain Avengers movie. I'm not going to say which one it is. You know which one it is, but I'm not going to tell the audience which one it is. That I think kind of blows this one out of the water, honestly. I think the Guardians movies sort of blow this one out of the water. I mean, there's better MCU movies that have come along, Dragon. This set the framework. Yes, it absolutely did, and it did so in a great way, and it is a milestone. But Dragon, I'm not going to just like instantly put this in like my top 20 of the year of the decade just because of those milestone things, especially on a favorite category. But with that being said, I do love this movie. You know, it is like, let's call a spade here, Dragon. One of the earliest list podcasts that we did was the top 5 awesome Avengers moments. Do you remember what I put as my number 1, Dragon?
Oh god, it's been so long.
It's a really obscure one.
Galaga?
Yeah, Galaga.
Oh, Galaga was your okay. That man is playing Galaga. He thought we didn't notice, but we did.
And Dragon, that's kind of what I love about the movie as a whole, is that sort of back and forth Joss Whedon interchange. I feel like the other Avengers movies are a lot more epic in scope. And I do think specifically with the Russo brothers movies, they're very epic. They're very ambitious. But man, the scale of those movies are so big that we don't get the intimate character interaction between an intimate group of Avengers that we get in this movie. And that is kind of the key selling point to this movie for sure. Dragon, I can't imagine we're going to see this on your list anytime soon. I would probably wager to say it's on the last part of your list. I don't want you to give that away, but, just to say, I'm sure you have things to say about this. Would you like to just rake me over the coals a little bit for having it this low?
Tiki, all I'm going to say is there's one other person you pissed off. His name was Phil.
All right. That's fair.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to silently judge you throughout the course of this. Anyway, so...
All right.
All right. Oh, by the way,
so number 53.
Just to add more shame, It was from 2012.
Yes. 2012,
for your years. All right. Okay, number 53. Okay, number 53. Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. Which came out in 2014.
See, Dragon, I could play the same game. This should easily be in your top 25.
Oh yeah, you can play the same game, sure. No, look, again, I chalk this one up to it's so good you don't really have it. It's kind of a rewatchability factor on me. It's great though. It is great.
Well, honestly, I think there is a good rewatchability factor to it.
Again, I think something like this is a little bit more Marriage Story for sure, but it's still it's on the list. All right, I tried to rank as high as I could. All right, but anyway.
All right, that's fine. I don't look. I'm just being silly. All right, don't worry about it.
Okay.
But with the rewatchability, Dragon, I just want to say, like, 1917 is not a movie I see myself rewatching anytime soon. This is a movie I can rewatch anytime. And they both kind of have that same similar, like, one-take premise. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so Birdman, of course, directed by the great Alejandro Inarritu.
Iñárritu. I'm not, as you can see, I'm not even sure how to say it myself, so...
Okay, the point being...
Iñárritu, I think it is. Iñárritu.
Yeah, the point being good old Alejandro. So, Alejandro, he directed this. Seriously, he's a great director, folks. He's done great things. We give him many awards. He's awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, this is where that director really made his big splash, I'd argue. This is where he kind of splashed onto the scene. This is, basically this is Keaton's kind of BoJack Horseman style introspective, parallel to...
absolutely, this is Keaton's BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, this is very much kind of the introspective, parallel to the actor who's played an iconic role or an iconic hero in this case. Learning what it takes to redefine yourself and redefine yourself as the quote unquote serious actor. What the struggle
Mhm.
that it takes, the sacrifice that it takes. Especially when you're launching into going from kind of film to blockbusters to the Broadway stage. It's as personal as a film gets. Really, that's what's amazing about this movie. It's as personal as a film gets, and it's amazingly
But it's
shot as a
still
oneer.
really over the top and theatrical at the same time.
Again, that's the thing. It's such a heady experience because you're
Yeah,
backstage while still being on. Well, you feel like you're on the front stage. It's like the main stage. It's great. Of course, amazingly shot as a oneer. Just fantastic.
I
It's
think the
definitely.
Runner conceit is a lot more well realized in this than in 1917. Just because I feel like it's a lot more realistic to be kind of basically just weaving in and out of the theater building and a few city blocks.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the movie is like an analysis on acting and criticism. That's really what
Hmm.
we're hitting a lot of really great strides. Where he goes up against this
Kind of
critic, and
like the adult Ratatouille in a way.
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, no way, it's absolutely the adult Ratatouille, and I love me some Ratatouille. So and again, this is like where I think a big thing in the movie is where it's kind of about where we're heading to reinventing the wheel. I think it's kind of the cautionary tale of the movies. Like we constantly want actors to reinvent the wheel and really dazzle us,
Right,
especially come Oscar season. And there's always a risk with that. Of course, we've seen kind of cases like your Jared Leto's who went too far with that sort of thing, trying to break the mold. And you have your other cases, your success stories, like your Joaquin Phoenixes, or some various others. You have your, I don't mean just the side jokers for
Dragon,
them
have you
sixty.
seen the meme of it's like SpongeBob and Patrick like Squidward is looking out his window at SpongeBob and Patrick like, dancing in the front yard, and it says Jared Leto looking at Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger both winning awards for the Joker.
God, it's all right, but the Joker stuff aside, you understand my point though. It's like we're
Yeah,
constantly pushing
totally.
actors to the edge of like how can you like we've seen so much great stuff done. It's like soon
What
it's
can you
always we're
do for
pushing.
me this year?
Yeah, it has a wonderful ambiguous ending. One of the all time great ambiguous endings. Truly,
Mhm.
you don't know what is reality anymore because we've been in Regan's head so much during the movie. We have no idea what's real for him anymore and what's real for us. Just kind of watching him. Of course, everybody's got theories. We won't bore you with those here because we've already talked to death about them. Keaton. Keaton absolutely. I feel out of all the Oscar snubs, I feel Keaton absolutely. It's ridiculous he didn't win the Oscar for this one. He deserved
God,
the Oscar
remind
for
me
this
who
movie.
did.
Oh God, let's see, it was 2014.
2014. You know what? I'll
Uh,
look it up. I'll look it
yeah,
up in the
I don't
meantime.
know
Don't
if
worry
I'm sorry, I don't know off the
about
top of
it.
my head. But point being,
Okay.
Keaton, he
It's
absolutely
fine.
should
It's
have won
fine.
the Oscar. I think it's ridiculous that he did. Point being, Birdman, just absolutely, it's a
Yeah.
fantastic film. And again, it's not that it's, I don't know, maybe rewatchables the Portraits Were just something. I don't feel the need to come back to Birdman because I feel like I just got such a great experience watching it the first time. Maybe that's it. Point being, Birdman is just it's
All
excellent.
right.
One of Mike Keaton's finest performances. Bear in mind, I do love the Vulture performance. Anyway, so Mike Keaton's awesome. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, my number 52, Dragon. My number 52 is Flight. Flight from 2012. This is the best Robert Zemeckis movie of the decade by quite a considerable margin. Also, one of the best Denzel Washington performances of the decade. Dragon, I think this movie is severely underrated, man. Not enough people talk about this thing. It begins with just an incredibly harrowing plane crash sequence in which Denzel plane upside down. I mean, how cool is that? And then the rest of the movie is honestly just a way more intense Captain Phillips. I'm sorry, not Captain Phillips, not Captain Phillips. Sully. It's a way more
Sully.
intense Sully. Yeah. Because it's like, man, it's like this movie is like Sully meets Richard Jewell, all right? Because it's like it's the Sully in terms of like the setup is very similar to Sully, but it's Richard Jewell in terms of like the media is just ruining this guy's life. But then, Dragon, it's also freaking leaving Las Vegas because this guy is also kind of drinking himself to death at the same point. And the movie doesn't really hide the fact that, unlike Sully, where it's kind of just like I don't know, did he have a drink or two? No, this movie, it's like, no, he had a drink and some coke and, maybe shot up some heroin, like, this guy is a flawed character, Dragon. Denzel in this movie is just so.
Well, I mean, he was flying before he even put on the uniform.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this movie makes no bones about it. So this movie is basically about owning up to your mistakes and kind of like taking ownership of that. And there is kind of like a very BoJack Horseman quality to it in that regard of, kind of like the consequences of substance abuse and all that. And like I said, it's also got kind of like that Richard Jewell style sort of like, how the media can ruin your life and ruin everyone around you. And man, I just, Dragon, just not enough people talk about this one, man. That's what it comes down to. I mean, it's directed by one of our greats in Robert Zemeckis. And frankly, I think Robert Zemeckis has had an off couple of decades. I really do. And I think this is by far probably the best Robert Zemeckis movie of the past 20 years, Dragon. Honestly, I would go as far as to say that. So yeah, check out Flight, folks. Flight is severely underrated, I think.
Kind of funny, Sully is in Sully. If you really think it's it's kind of Sully in our Sully-esque movie. If John Good.
right.
I remember Kevin Smith had a hilarious thing. He said it was basically that guy John Good was basically playing Silent Bob's dad in that movie, and it was hysterical.
All right. So Dragon, what's next for you? What's next for you?
Right. Next for me, number 52, Alita Battle Angel from 2019.
All right, cool. Dragon, it's really interesting because this is one where I feel like you went into the category of love, and I was kind of like, I'm still in the category of like, I really like it. I really appreciate it. I'm not quite to love the same way you are, but I appreciate it a lot. It is very ambitious.
And again, look, I'm being honest. Again, if we're going by quality, Birdman easily is above Alita, no question. But again, we're going by favoritism.
Again, it's a favorites thing. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I can totally see you rewatching this more than Birdman. So,
like, if anyone's going by, like, if anyone's just trying to, like, predict where our outcomes are, just going by, well, we looked at the best of 2019. Like, someone's really. Let's just assume someone actually liked us out there. Say somebody went through
That's a big assumption, Dragon.
Let's just assume for a second that the people like some beloved fan out there who, again, our gratitude. This person does exist. Someone really went through and looked at all like our countdown movie list of the year, which is usually arranged by best. That's what I'm saying. Even if it just went by 2019, like you'll notice there's some things a lot or like Irishman's Behind Knives Out. Again, there's a favoritism factor in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the
yeah,
the Babadook was my number one of 2014, and yet there's a bunch of 2014 movies still to come. So
you see the breakdown there. There's definitely something amiss with that. But again, it's because it's favorites. So again, Alita Battle Angel, I have a lot of love for this movie. So basically, it was this is an Avatar I can get behind. It's going to be my shorthand for Alita. This is like this is the Avatar movie I can.
It's like an Avatar with characters who are actually compelling. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Of course, it's basically kind of a combination. Avatar I can get behind. It's kind of Robert Rodriguez basically finally kind of working the Spy Kids 3D kind of style to his advantage for a change. That's kind of what we have going on here. It's like we have the Spy Kids 3D
Shark Boy and Lava Girl style look.
Yeah, but I mean directly with like the whole like the kind of the racing element of the whole thing with kind of very much. Right, sure. I see exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of like the map. And anyway, so it's that done right in a very solid anime adaptation. Kind of a solid kind of adaptation. From what I understand, again, I haven't read the books, I haven't seen the anime. From what I've seen and what I've heard from people who are fans of it, they say it's pretty faithful. I mean, surprisingly very faithful. And again, so rarely do we have an anime
has like a big cult following amongst anime fans for sure.
That's what I'm saying, because you never hear that. It's usually anime fans saying it was better in the original.
Right, for sure.
Again, probably is. I'm not equivalent. I'm saying probably. Usually, probably.
Dragon, talk to anime fans about Death Note.
That's what I'm saying. You have like your Death Notes and your Ghosts in the Shells. Like, you always hear horror stories with anime fans. My point is, my point is that this film, though, I think one, it's a rarity that like an anime film actually gets, if not close to the mark, then actually hits the mark like this one. I think I'm just still shocked, and the reason is really it had to make the list here for me. Again, it's not in the top two of our list. It's not in the next two installments. It's here for a reason. Again, it's like dead center because I do have like a lot of love in my heart for this one. I'm just shocked by how much I like this one. I had a great experience watching it. Just the surprise, like it's like it's kind of the anti-ego. You surprised me, it's that sort of thing. It's it's that thing. It's it's true. It does kind of need a follow up. It definitely sets stuff up for follow up. I have hope that it will get it. I doubt it will, but fingers crossed. This movie's really good, and I was just so dialed into it. I love the world building. I love Alita as a character. Rose Salazar she's so underrated in this movie. Rose Salazar was so great. She was the biggest sell of the movie. She was wonderful as the
Now,
title
correct me
character.
if I'm wrong. But this came out like exactly the same weekend that fucking Captain Marvel came out.
Well, no. Captain Marvel came out in wait a minute. Wait. No. Alita came out in February. Captain Marvel came out in March.
Okay, but still, it was like Captain Marvel was in theaters around the same time, and Alita was like just such a better character.
Yeah.
And it was really frustrating because it's like everyone's talking about Captain Marvel as like this big feminist like role model, and you got Alita, and she's like a way better written character.
Right.
All right, sorry.
But anyway, so I think I forget if Captain Marvel had that early release thing. Maybe that's what you're thinking. Maybe that's what pit them against each other. I don't know. But yeah. So, I love Alita as a character. I love the bond she had with Dr. Ito. The Christoph Waltz character. Christoph Waltz has a very solid performance. I think my favorite parts of the movie are kind of the story between those two characters. He kind of finds kind of a daughter figure in her, and they help each other out and kind of find themselves and grow as people. And basically, the whole film is predicated on Alita's becoming and kind of like her reconfiguring herself and just kind of repairing her memory, but also just kind of like her becoming a hero by the end of the film, which is great. It's got phenomenal action. It's got amazing effects, again, like Cameron level effects, despite the fact he just wrote the movie. Which again, it's like, I always fear it comes across that I'm very anti-Cameron, and I'm not. It's just that's the thing. Like this is exactly what I would want from like an Avatar, something with story, with substance, with characters, like as Tiki and I echoed earlier. There, it's just everything came together for this film, and I desperately want more of it. And this is like a movie that absolutely summarizes the term, leave you wanting more. This movie leaves me wanting more on the edge of my seat because it was so good and it's like such a great ride. I want more, man.
Mm. All right, well said. Okay, so my number 51, getting towards the center, Dragon, getting towards the center here. My number 51 is Zootopia. Yeah, not much to say about this that hasn't already been said. I honestly, of course, it's got a very, very, very good social commentary element to it. I feel like it's one of the more self-aware Disney movies of the past decade, and also one of the more thematically ambitious. Like, honestly, it's kind of hard to believe that the same company that put this out also shat out the Lion King remake. Because this one just has just so much. I mean, from the characters to the locations and the world building to the just the crazy plot, and the fact that I'm pretty sure that the whole like crack cocaine of it all. I'm pretty sure this movie is at least partially based on that, Dragon, partially based on the conspiracy of spreading crack cocaine to inner cities to basically kind of control them. And there's a lot of YouTube videos about that. Look it up. I really do think they took a lot of influence from that. The only thing, Dragon, the only asterisk here that puts it down, Bear Bellwether is a fucking terrible villain. I mean, she really is, man. She is at the bottom of any villain tier list for Disney.
Again, I think you're always a little harsh on Bellwether, man. It was a reveal.
I really don't think I am. I think I'm just as harsh as I need to be with her, because I feel like I don't think she needed to be a twist villain. That's the thing. I feel like if we knew what she was up to the whole movie, and it was kind of like this great kind of like sheep in, like wolf in sheep's clothing type of villain throughout the whole movie, that would have been great, and it would have been juicy if they would have done
that's
it.
What she is in the movie. She was the wolf. She didn't suspect her.
Dragon, I need my Disney villains to have screen time, and I need my Disney villains to be outwardly
All right,
evil. All right,
all right, fine,
I don't know
fine,
what to tell you.
fine. All right, all
I don't
right.
like the hero we have of like, oh, it's real evil. It's like, no, give me mustache twirling, Dragon. I want my mustache twirling.
Well, don't we
All
all?
right,
We all want mustache twirly.
all right. I don't know. I really I'm craving a good Disney villain, Dragon. I feel like we're in a Disney villain drought. I really do.
It's a great way of putting it. We're in a drought. We're in a Disney villain drought.
We are in a villain drought.
All right,
All right.
all right.
Okay, anyways, Dragon, go ahead. You're number 51.
Okay, number 51 for me. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, I love this one. Okay. The Iceman from 2012.
I don't know much about this one.
I keep recommending this one to you, man. Yeah, really, and it's on YouTube now. I mean, well, I shouldn't. I'll say that in asterisks. It's on YouTube for the time being. Let's go. Anyway, point being, the Iceman. The Iceman is a great indie biopic. It's an indie biopic on Richard Kuklinski. Now, Richard Kuklinski, you can find the gobs of videos on this guy. Richard Kuklinski, he was a hitman. He basically was a cold-blooded hitman who killed numerous people, but he had a real soft spot for his family. It was like the only chink in the armor. He loved his family, and
Houses.
pretty much. Oddly, it's funny though. Ray Liotta's in this movie, and we've already mentioned we both have this list alone. We have 2 movies with Ray Liotta in them.
I mean, Ray Liotta has a very silly role in Youth in Revolt, all right? But still,
he does. Here though, this series, this is okay. So basically, Michael Shannon. This is Michael Shannon. He has a lead performance, which rarely he's ever had a lead performance, and he plays.
I don't want to say rarely. I mean, I've seen indie movies where he's the lead.
That's what I'm saying. But my point is, like, out of all the Michael Shannon films that I've seen, this is like one of the few times I've seen him in a lead role. But my point is, like, I would go on the record saying this is probably one of his all-time, this is one of his all-time best performances. At the very least, his best lead.
It's a big all-time best performance from Michael Shannon, though, Dragon. He's one of those actors this decade that just kind of crept up on us.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Shannon, I love Shannon so many things. But this might be like one of his all-time best performances. Him playing Kuklinski. It's chilling, man. Something you really got to see to behold. This movie's such an underrated film. I think it really kind of falls by the wayside. I think the critics were a little harsh on it. Again, I love the familial element to this character. Again, it's like a really interesting character. He's had like a really horrible life growing up, and he's just kind of become numb to everything. That's why he's so cold blooded. And we kind of dive into that in the movie. It's got a phenomenal cast. Chris Evans is unrecognizable in the movie.
Oh wow,
Chris Evans in the movie, and this is like him coming off of the Avengers. Essentially, it's like same year's Avengers coming out. He's playing this role, and he's again Chris Evans. You got to remember, he thrives in indie films. He loves doing indie movies. That's why he directs and stars in a lot of indie movies when he's not doing the MCU. It's really the only movies he does these days. It's a dark and riveting piece. Again, it's a great portrayal of these confession tapes called the Iceman confessions that they did, and that's basically what Michael Shannon studied to get the character just right. And it's kind of framing guides for the movie. These true to life tapes that you can watch in their entirety on YouTube if you wanted to, or find them somewhere. And it just matches up perfectly to those tapes and those places. But it's just. Winona Ryder's in it. Again, Ray Liotta, David Schwimmer's in this. It's like
wow.
That's what I'm saying. It's got star-studded, like excellent performance. Franco's in it, man. Franco has a small part in it too. That's what I'm saying. I seriously, I can't recommend this movie anymore. It's just about it's fantastic, and it's I don't know. It just feels really refreshing. It's like the best way I could put it. I hope I'm selling it okay, because it's just something you really got to check.
You're doing a good job. You got this, buddy.
Okay. All right.
Number 50 for me, Dragon. Number 50, right in the middle of the list, is probably the best cold sci-fi movie of the decade. It is Ex Machina.
This is your elite equivalent.
Pretty much. I'm curious, did you ever get around to seeing this?
No, I haven't.
No. Okay, I really do think you'd get something out of this one, Dragon. I do. I mean, there are horror elements to it, but I wouldn't call it a horror movie. I'd call it more like a sci-fi thriller. But first of all, Dragon, I just want to cite, just kind of like on a pure fan level, the most fun thing about this movie. and it's Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson reteaming with each other. And just I love how Oscar Isaac is kind of like this over the top kind of like Steve Jobs style like dude, like douche bro. He's kind of just like the Steve Jobs style like young corporate CEO type. And then Domhnall Gleeson is just kind of everyman. You know what I mean? He's very much like he's way more Bill Weasley than he is General Hux in this movie, where he's just like kind of like signing up for this, like, oh, I'm gonna all right, like this hot robot chick. All right, let's see where this goes. It does not go well. Does not go well. Alicia Vikander, Dragon. I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't seen more of her following this movie because, of course, like she is just like off the charts in this movie. She is just absolutely impeccable with what she has to do in terms of just like the creepiness of the robot nature, but still you have to give that character sort of like a believable likability to the other characters, but still kind of like a believability in kind of her whole-blooded nature. It's a balancing act. It's a tightrope act. And my God, I really think the filmmakers really pulled it off well. I do think that the other film from this guy, oh God, what is that film called? It was Annihilation. That was good. It was good. I just think it was maybe a little too clinical and cold. This one was right on the edge of being clinical and cold, but I feel like Oscar Isaac kind of saved it from that, because Oscar Isaac is great as this kind of like drunken douche bro CEO. And I feel like he's got just enough character in him to where it's not just a cold clinical sci-fi movie. It's close to being a cold clinical sci-fi movie. In a lot of ways it is. But I feel like Oscar Isaac just kind of gives it that special like spice and ingredient to it that really just makes it spark, Dragon. It really just makes it sing. So I really do think you'd get something out of this one, Dragon. I'd recommend it to you. I would. It's very thought-provoking. All right. You're number 50. Big one. Big moment.
Klaus from 2019.
Wow. All right. This was one I'm glad you put on your list. Dragon, I'm sorry. I know you were a Toy Story 4 guy, but I just gotta say, Klaus should have won. But Klaus should have won.
Anyway.
Toy Stories had their shot at winning, man.
They earned it. They did great. They made the movie. Everyone thought it was good.
I don't think they earned it over Klaus.
Well, the point being, so long as Missing Link didn't win, they're in good shape with whoever won. Let's be clear on that factor, all right? If Klaus won, I still would have been a happy guy, all right? Anyway,
okay.
back to Klaus. Back talking why it could have won. So, Klaus, Sergio Pablos, he was basically he's taken us all. He basically took us all by surprise with this movie. It's with a new Christmas classic. That's what Klaus is. Klaus is like a new Christmas classic in all the right ways. Netflix is doing it right with animation, and especially their holiday movies as a whole. Man, Netflix is doing it upright.
Netflix just kind of came out like Disney Plus. After Disney Plus came out, they're like, "Oh, hold my beer. We'll show you how to do awesome animation."
Okay, so Klaus, of course, it's a genius origin story for Santa Claus by this very kind of humble crusade with a postman by the name of
Jesper.
So, anyways, of course, we have J.K. Simmons and Jason Schwartzman. J.K. Simmons as Klaus, Schwartzman as Jesper the postman. It's a great duo. It's a magical arc of them, of kind of essentially as they their friendship kind of grows, they kind of grow trust. They basically kind of are delivering gifts to children, which kind of like there's a divided, feuding town, which they kind of repair through these acts of kindness. One good deed inspires another's. It's fantastic.
The way I describe it is it's the Nolanization of Santa Claus.
It is in all the right ways, buddy boy. It is in all the right ways. I love the sad backstory on Klaus, which really I think is kind of in the DNA is what separates this from from just a fun film, which it already was. It was already kind of a fun, irreverent film in many ways, and then that's what kind of separated. That's what started to put it on the pedestal. Like, okay, this is something truly great, man. This is a classic now. Okay, it's not just like a fun holiday movie. And of course, the ending is, oh my god, the ending is just is perfection.
Oh God, Jesus Christ! Don't even get me started. I'm gonna need
that's what
the
I'm saying.
Dragon.
Good
Oh
God,
God.
I'm much like the animation style, which is handcrafted, has that handcrafted look. The movie
Animation is a game changer, and frankly, I feel like it's why it should have won Best Animated Feature, is just because of the actual animation alone.
basically as the handcrafted, beautiful quality of the animation. Much is the film a beautiful handcrafted work of art. Okay.
All right, well said, my friend. All right, okay, moving right along. Number 49 on my list. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? It is, oh boy, Dragon. I feel like this is going to be very close to where you rank it. The Peanuts movie.
Okay.
Where is it for you? Because I know you have it on your list still in this section.
It's not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Okay. Dragon, the Peanuts movie is just, I don't think people talk about this enough. It's everything that I feel like this is easily the most successful version of like a movie that kind of came in the wake of the success of the Lego movie and was kind of like, hey, let's just take everything that we love about this franchise and roll it up into one awesome movie. And that's the Peanuts movie, man. And the Peanuts movie, just everything top to bottom, from the animation to the characterization. I think pretty much all the voice actors, the young voice actors really work well in their roles. They don't all sound like clones of the original voice actors, but I don't think they need to. I will say that I do think the Red Baron sequences do go on a little long. That is my one criticism of the movie. But if you can get past that, man, I mean, just again, I can't get past the art style. The art style is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Just how good they were able to replicate every single look and nuance of the cartoon, of the comic strip. Oh God, I get chills just thinking about it, Dragon. And just the fact that the story that they were able to take a story and just make it simple and yet have it encompass so much of the Peanuts was brilliant. I feel like kind of the year in the life was brilliant as well, because it was able to give us some good, holiday touchstones. I desperately want to see a full on like Charlie Brown Christmas with this style animation. A Christmas movie with this style animation. Man, just everything about this movie is just fantastic. Like I said, just I think it is just a wonderful celebration of Charles Schulz. But most importantly, I think that animation just really sets it apart, and I could just watch it over and over again based on that alone. I mean, it is really kind of a game changer for animation. I wish more animated films had this kind of look.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. Okay. So, number 49 for me, Django Unchained.
Nice.
2012.
This is on my list, but not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Had a feeling. So, of course, this is Quentin Tarantino's tribute to the Western, specifically the spaghetti Western. Basically adapted as a sort of a revisionist quasi blaxploitation film. I don't know if blaxploitation is the right word, because I mean there's obviously some blaxploitation touches, but then again it's really more spaghetti westerns. So a little bit. Point being, it's spaghetti westerns.
Oh, I think there's definitely blaxploitation touches to it, though. To be sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the point being, my favorite element, the reason Django, just of all the Tarantino, of course, earlier in my list I had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think the last installment. Once Upon in Hollywood was on there, and it was great, but nothing's touching Django. Let's be honest, man. Of all the Tarantino movies, nothing's touching Django. With Django, I adore the friendship and the dynamic of Dr. King Schultz and and Django Freeman. I love these two guys together. I really do.
King Schultz is, I think, one of the best characters of the decade. Just straight up characters.
He is. Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
I would rank him in like the top 10 just original characters of the decade. I love everything about him.
Much as I love so many of Christoph Waltz's roles, I think this is the best one he's ever done. I really do.
I do too, and I think most people go to Inglorious Bastards, and don't get me
They
wrong, he's
do,
great in
and he's
Inglorious
great.
Bastards.
Yeah.
But I love how he turns the tables in this. I love how he goes from just like, the world's most charmingly evil Nazi into just a genuinely just incredibly heroic, warm-hearted person in a
Yes. I mean,
Tarantino movie, Dragon, and that's a subversion of it all. He is just the most pure and kind-hearted character to ever exist in a Tarantino universe.
I watch a whole trilogy just on Dr. King Schultz, like getting to this point, man. I love him so much, and I love that friendship. I mean, the bar scene, my favorite, the bar scene, the first bounty are my favorite scenes of the whole movie. Basically, the bar scene, the escalation, basically why they're in the bar, like the whole like. I love Waltz just giving that whole monologue about like, I trust your deputies will not shoot me down like a dog in the street.
Oh God.
That whole thing, I can't get enough. This is like Tarantino at his best right here. It's like the whole bar scene. He's working the little nozzles and everything. He's gonna pour him a drink and explain the whole. Well, I don't support slavery, but I do need your help with something. So I'm gonna exercise that. But obviously afterwards, you're free to go and all that sort of stuff. It's just basically he teaches them the bounty hunting trade. And of course, bounty hunting, when done right, is a really just kind of. If we learn nothing from the Mandalorian. We learn that bounty hunting can be really fun, can be really cinematic, can be a great pitch for any film. Let's be honest. And we have that, and then of course, basically, it's the bounty hunting adventure, which is a movie I just watch on its own, and then it escalates into this rescue mission of saving, Brunhilde. I believe it's Brunhilde, right? That's what it is. Django's love, very Tarantino style, which basically means we're going to a stationary location for the majority of the film, and basically it's kind of a tension fest with dialogue and all the little subtle touches, and DiCaprio cutting his hand and shouting, as he tends to do.
DiCaprio cutting his hand is like the most. I think that is like the most memorable Tarantino moment of the decade. I think,
and that's where kind of the realization, man, DiCaprio just shouts a lot in a lot of his movies. Either he's playing a southerner or he's shouting a lot.
Also, I feel like this movie is like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I fucking love DiCaprio in this movie.
He's great.
This movie is the definition of, how would you describe DiCaprio, Dragon, the babyface thing?
Screaming babyface or screaming southern babyface. He's one of those two is usually what he pulls off. It's either he's just gonna be screaming a lot in the movie or he's gonna be doing the southerner voice while he's screaming. So pretty much saying he's screaming babyface, man.
Oh, yeah. So this is DiCaprio's screaming babyface performance.
But again, we say it with love because it's what he does. It's what he does.
All right.
Anyway, so I will say this, as much as I love Jan, I've always had one problem with the movie. It's one little thing. It's always I know we need it for dramatic circumstances, but it never quite registers with me that it always bugged me how close they were to success, despite, again, a little blow of the ego. Like, okay, thanks to Samuel L. Jackson's character, the jig is up. We know, like, this whole, like, basically they're trying to haggle down Brunhilde, essentially, get her out of there. Didn't go well, hence the whole glass breaking and all that sort of stuff. They all break her skull, that whole escalation there, and basically say, okay, I'll sell it to you. You shouldn't have been this honest, but I'll sell it to you for the price. Candy trying to be a civil man, but he has to shake my hand. The handshake thing, how King Schultz, as much as I love him as a character, why do you have to screw that up? Just have to shake his hand, and they would have been out of there. And that's the thing, and it's got so bad for Django. It's like, it's just that little thing. If he just shook his hand.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, can't have everything. I'll admit it's been a while since I rewatched it.
It's so like the one flaw of the movie. It's just the one thing. Like, I know it's supposed to be a character flaw, but it's like King Schultz is too smart for that. Anyway.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, number 48 from me, Dragon. Number 48 from me. Let's see. Oh, this is going to go by really quick because we already talked about it, and I don't really have a lot to say that you didn't already say. It's going to be War for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, I mean, God, what more to get? Like, we can just pretty much repeat all the points you made. Just fantastic villain in Woody Harrelson. I think by far the best villain of the series. I mean, let's face it, easily better than Draco Malfoy by a country mile. Like, he is a different stratosphere from Draco Malfoy. And as much as I like Gary Oldman, I think he's more iconic than Gary Oldman. I think they do more stuff with him than they do with Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman's kind of just generic, like, we need to, he's just kind of like the generic rah-rah guy. Whereas with Woody Harrelson, it's a lot more personal. Of course, Steve Zahn, Dragon, let's give it up to him because he just does a great kind of comic relief character that becomes one of the most memorable parts of the movie in spite of being comic relief. And I do think that I don't know, there's a lot of memorable parts of the movie. And, there's some people who criticize this movie saying like, oh, it's just a prison escape movie. And Dragon, you know what? A prison escape movie with fucking monkeys? Hell yes! Hell yes! Give that to me. I want that. It sounds awesome. Like, I don't care that that's not what they that's not what they advertise, Dragon. To me, I feel like this movie is honestly all the better for not just being like a full out and out, just like CGI battles everywhere. I feel like people were going into this movie expecting like the Return of the King of Planet of the Apes, and this movie is not that at all. It's not like big epic battles or anything like that. But what it is absolute razor sharp tension, groundbreaking special effects. Andy Serkis absolutely should have been nominated for an Oscar for this movie, no question about it. I think this movie's somewhat underrated because I feel like it really kind of got overshadowed by Dawn in a lot of ways, even though I think it's better than Dawn. And it is just the ultimate culmination of a wonderful trilogy. I feel like in terms of trilogies, Dragon, in terms of just sheer trilogies this decade, of course, we've gotten a lot of movies that aren't trilogies, a lot of like Avengers 4 parts, but in terms of like sheer trilogies, I would say Planet of the Apes was probably the defining blockbuster trilogy of this decade. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Glad we're on the same page about that. All right, Dragon.
Well, yeah, if you're strictly in the trilogy terms, yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next for you?
All right, next for me, number 48, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens from 2015.
All right.
Just hold on. I know what you're going to say. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I want to make it clear.
I'm not going to call it a remake of A New Hope if that's what you think. I don't dislike this movie. I just think The Last Jedi is a lot more ambitious.
I know. That's what I was about to address.
Okay, sorry.
So my point is, I just want to make it clear. It was very close between this and Last Jedi. Okay, it was very close. I had to go with one. That's what I was about. That's exactly. There's a lot I love about Last Jedi. I want to make that clear because I think Last Jedi is a great movie. Just again with those 2 exceptions, 2 provisos that aren't necessarily really.
With Last Jedi for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I adore Mark Hamill in that movie. That's why it's really tough because I feel I kind of went with consistency over like Mark Hamill's the standout, and it's like out of all of them, I would probably go back to Last Jedi more because I love all the Mark Hamill stuff, and of course the Rey, Kylo Ren of it all. But again, particularly Hamill in those scenes, and I'll glow about when we eventually get to it on your thing. I won't. Well, on here, my point is, it was close, but at the end of the day, Last Jedi, I'm skipping to the Hamill scenes if I'm being honest. Okay, that's the thing. That's the problem with Last Jedi.
That's fair.
Or I can sit down through all of Force Awakens. That's the difference. Okay, So Force Awakens. It turned out, I think, out of the new trilogy, I think it kind of turned out best, or at least most consistent, depending on how you want to look at it. It kind of turned out best in that regard, and that was it's something you can sit down through from start to finish. It's got great new characters. Of course, we have the Cell of Finn, which we kind of gloat about another show, Black History Heroes, Star Wars, that we're kind of doing this year, which we started off by talking about Finn, and basically the whole Cell, what the Stormtrooper kind of turned Resistance. I love the Rey and BB-8 story. I love the bond they share. I will always go back to that scene, man. Again, even with the Rise of the Resistance ride, I'm so glowing. Oh man, I just love it's the little interchange between. They have history together. It's like, shouldn't you? It's just so simple. It's like days where it's like, shouldn't you be doing something else? I love the two of them just having that friendship that they struck up there. I could watch Daisy really talk to BB-8 all day. I gotta be honest. It sounds so simple, but it's so adorable, and I love how they became friends, and it's so sweet. Anyway, so it's of course, where would be without talking about the mythic moment that is Kylo Ren is the Kylo Ren story with Han Solo and the famed death of Han Solo. How can you not? I mean, it's a big moment for this movie, and I rewatch like just the drama of that scene. We block out like the darkness in the scene. It's perfectly
I'll still
staged.
never forget being in line for this movie, and there was a woman who I was talking to who was like the biggest Han Solo fan on the planet, and I had already had it spoiled for me that Han Solo was going to die before going in. And I was like, oh God, I feel so bad for you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Your dreams are going to be crushed.
And I had like the Inside Out moment, like you know the Goofball Island going down when he was killed. It's like, oh God. Anyway, so of course you have the heart, the kind of the thrill of it all. There's a lot of heart in the movie. There's a lot of like thrilling stuff in it. It kind of it was kind of it was the first time. Again, it was kind of the best effect that we had of like, we're bringing Star Wars back and like seeing it done practically, kind of like the practical, like, recreation of a Star Wars sort of thing, where it's like, we're not all CG backgrounds. Is not where we last left Star Wars. The climax is very enthralling, like the scene in the woods, and again, we kind of talked about as the whole fin of it all, again, just like a traitor, and then of course Rey's big moment. There's a lot of fun there, and again, even though Mark Hamill, again, despite the advertising, which is I love the misdirect where you have Luke Skywalker saying, "My sister's strong with the Force. I'm strong with the Force." That whole thing. Luke doesn't even say a word, but that scene is still resonates so much. It's doesn't even say a word. It's like a middle finger and like a friendly middle finger, though. It's kind of what the movie is. I say in the best of ways. It's like, hey, he finally showed up, but he doesn't say a word. But you know what? He didn't even need to. Look at that moment. So Force Awakens, it's a great time, man. I love me some Force Awakens. All right.
Cool. All right, let's see. Going back to mine, my number 47. Oh, this is a fun one, Dragon. This is a fun one. All right. I'm excited to talk about this one. My number 47, our boy Fabian.
Oh boy.
Last Exorcism, Dragon. Last Exorcism.
I keep forgetting that was this decade. I gotta tell you, I keep forgetting that.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, speaking of years, I should probably reiterate some of these years here. Sorry. Flight was 2012, Zootopia 2016, Ex Machina 2015, Peanuts movie 2015, and War for the Planet of the Apes 2017, and Last Exorcism was 2010, Dragon. So it's technically in the decade. It counts. It counts. It made the cut.
I had a feeling it was like on the precipice. It had to be.
Yeah. God, this movie's so good. Of course, Dragon, looking back on it, like, this is pre-Better Call Saul, and when I realized that, I kind of had like an epiphany of like, oh, yeah, it's the Last Exorcism guy. Cool. But seriously, man, outside of the Patrick Fabian of it all, this movie just has a brilliant conceit and setup to it. It's a found footage documentary style film about Patrick Fabian, who is a priest who goes around performing exorcisms that he knows are fake, right? It's all about kind of like giving people closure. And so he stages these exorcisms to essentially like, all right, you're done, your loved one is passed on, and the people get closure out of it. The catch is that Patrick Fabian is basically filming a documentary kind of exposing this, and he ends up in a really, really bad situation with some terrifying exorcism scenes that are genuinely real. And of course, he can't fake his way through any of it. And Dragon, I must say, the documentary style of this movie is incredibly effective. Honestly, Dragon, I would give this a watch. Like, I would give this a watch with the fast forward button. I would say probably the actual exorcism scenes themselves would probably be a little too intense for you. But there's a lot of really fun, like, interactions that Fabian has with, like, the family members of the possessed girl and stuff like that, where they're all suspicious of him. And, that's the stuff in the movie that I kind of live for, man. This is honestly one of the most creative horror movies of the decade, and I think it's a shame that there's been, like, a couple really shitty sequels to kind of offset how good this one is. But once again, this is an example of just great horror this decade. It really is. I feel like the exorcism scenes themselves and kind of like the possession element of the movie is played incredibly effectively, and I feel like the documentary style just kind of adds to how realistic it all is. And obviously Patrick Fabian is a wonderful lead. Just yeah, an incredibly captivating setup, really well done, really well executed. You got the Fabes in there. What more do you want? It's just great. Just an all around really good movie. All right.
All right, number 47 for me would be
Yeah.
Wreck-It Ralph from 2012.
All right. I had this a little higher on my. I think this was like in my 80s somewhere, but yeah, I definitely respect it being this high for you.
So I was really head over heels for the sell of kind of the video game kind of the Bad Guys Anonymous meeting, the whole Bad Anon, that whole just that was always the sell for me, Wreck-It Ralph, even before it was the fact it's a video game movie. It's like, no, it's like, look at that premise. There's the bad guy who's just tired of being the bad guy, but it's in his program, it's in his DNA, and he's just such a wonderful rut in life. I mean, you have that plus the world building. I mean, I love going to Tappers. Tappers is my favorite set in the whole shebang. And we do the Villains Anonymous.
I just want a Disney Plus series set in Tappers.
Oh God, yes.
Right,
anyway,
right.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Just like an animated Cheers, Dragon. Like, give us 11-minute episodes.
God, yes. Anyway, my point is, so again, I love Tappers. Honestly, that's the thing. I love the fact the meetings are held in like Pac-Man.
Steal this idea. Anyways, sorry.
Anyway, so let's see. So of course, yes, I know it's been said a lot, but I mean, it's kind of hard to find. It's a perfect analogy. Again, this is very much. It is very much kind of like kind of a Toy Story, a video game approach to almost like a Toy Story like concept. Basically, I say that because the movie's brimming with illogical logic, and I love that. Of course, the original Toy Story, brimming with illogical logic in the first place. We're taking kind of like we're looking at something in a different way than we've ever looked at it before. In that sense, I mean, you have that going forward. Just all the gobs and gobs of illogical logic applied to the wonderful world of video games and like the history and just kind of the arcade specifically and how all that works. So you plug the surge protectors to get Grand Central Station. It's great. Ralph, I love his arc of self-acceptance and the bond that he forges with Vanellope. It's very nicely done. King Candy, let's face it, in the dry spell villains that we have had, King Candy probably tops it.
King Candy's good. I'll give credit to King Candy for sure.
Also,
the only thing with King Candy that I kind of have an asterisk towards is that, like, with the Ed Wynn thing, I feel like it's almost a little bit too on the nose. But you know what? It's fun.
That's what I'm saying. It's so fun. That we turned Ed Wynn into this really scary, spidery bad guy. It's just awesome. But that's the thing, though. I would honestly, I'd wager, because I love the Ed Wynn thing personally, is that I feel King Candy is probably Tudyk's best Disney role, not counting the more that we've gotten of Cray in the Big Hero 6 series. That's great, though. But again, one of the best performances, though, from now on Tudyk in the Disney side of things. All right. So Calhoun and Fix-It Felix Jr. I could watch a spin-off of these two all day. I love Calhoun.
Oh, absolutely.
So Calhoun, absolutely. I love the opposites in that relationship. I love that and how they've changed, how they evolved. That was my favorite bit of Wreck-It Ralph.
We haven't seen a short of those two raising the girls from Wreck-It Ralph 2.
I'm down for it, man. They're all these Wreck-It Ralph ideas. All these Wreck-It Ralph ideas are on the table, Disney Plus. Take them, please. Let's go like the short circuit route. Let's just do a bunch of little mini shorts about all the different worlds within the arcade. So you have a Tappers episode, you have your Pac-Man episode. Was Pac-Man do before the therapy session? All that anyway. Sorry, my point is, so this was when Disney was really on fire creatively at the start of things. You got to remember, this is really kind of like Tangled was great. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying this is like when we're really okay, we're spicing things up, we're doing things we haven't really seen. Well, it's like we're getting almost like the Emperor's New Groove approach of let's shake things up, man. I loved every second of this thing. I really did. I can't. We continue the world building of this in the sequel, of course. But while the biggest complaint people have lobbed against the first Wreck-It Ralph movie, and again, it's kind of hard to defeat. It's not a bad thing. It's just we're a little limited in the world building here because we don't go as across the map as we assumed in the trailer, given all the characters that we saw. We didn't go like all.
That was a little bit of a disappointment.
But again, I don't mind that we
I
limited
feel like
though.
keeping it to Sugar Rush keeps the plot more intimate.
That's what I'm
And I
saying. We
feel
didn't
like that's ultimately for the better of the movie.
ultimately, yeah, that's the thing. Ultimately, we didn't go with the razzle dazzle. Like, look at all these worlds, but instead we went simpler to benefit the story and support the art.
Okay, now keep in mind, the Lego movie is very much razzle dazzle. Look at all these worlds, and we'll get to the Lego movie.
But again,
shortly.
Legos. It's like I'm thinking it's like don't bring up Legos, man. That's you're killing me.
Well, it's gonna come up in my list. All right,
it will. But you see what I'm saying though. The fact is they kept it simple to benefit the story and the arc, and it was a point. I think it was a good call. All right.
Okay. Cool. All right. So my number 46 here, Dragon. What do I got? My number 46. Oh boy. Big personal one for me. I saw this like 4 times in theaters. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. All right, now you see here, folks, if you were playing along here in our little home game of like we did a ranking of the best MCU movies, I ranked Guardians of the Galaxy 1, I believe, number 4 on my list of best MCU movies, and this number 1. So it's kind of switched around a little bit, Dragon. It's kind of switched around. I'm giving credit where credit's due to the original Guardians. We're going to see that much higher on the list. But Volume 2 is still fantastic, man. And I think Volume 2, I'm glad that it's getting the recognition it deserves from folks like Lindsay Ellis, who I believe Lindsay Ellis's video essay on that like almost single-handedly kind of saved Volume 2's reputation, because there are a lot of people who have this movie kind of towards the bottom of the MCU rankings, which I absolutely think is absurd. I mean, I think this is a perfect sequel in a lot of ways. I think this it takes every single one of the characters and expands on them. Except for maybe, honestly, like I say people like the biggest argument I hear for this movie in terms of like a character that didn't get much to do is Drax. But like with Drax, it's like at least we have him and Mantis, and he's kind of like the anchor towards Mantis being in the story, and Mantis being in the story is, of course, we need that to get into Infinity War, because Mantis has one of the biggest moments in Infinity War. So, I think Drax does serve an important role, and I think he has some of the more heartfelt moments in the movie. So I do feel like every Guardian has something to do. Like Baby Groot is, of course, awesome. I'm honestly surprised that Baby Groot hasn't caught on the same way Baby Yoda caught on, because when I first saw the movie, I honestly kind of had the same reaction to Baby Groot that most people had to Baby Yoda, just in terms of like how he's used throughout the movie.
Well, trust me, Tiki.
What? Go ahead.
Well, trust me, Tiki. Had there not been a teenage Groot, Baby Groot would still be around, and he would be the Baby Yoda.
Right. And then, of course, Rocket, I feel like it's fascinating that this movie is essentially the start of a trilogy of movies of Rocket, kind of having this great arc with this plus the Infinity Saga Avengers movies. Peter Quill has the whole thing with his father. Gamora is a lot more fleshed out and likable in this movie, as is Nebula. I mean, man, there's just a whole lot to love about this movie. I honestly feel like the soundtrack is even better in this movie. And one of the things I love about this movie is the fact that it almost feels like a musical in the way that the soundtrack is integrated with the visuals. I freaking love Yondu in this movie. The Mary Poppins moment is just to die for. Yondu's death is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
The ending to this movie just gets me every time. I mean, oh man. And honestly, even the Sovereign I really like, because I feel like they're really cheesy in the 80s, and I kind of like the the simple motivation of like Rocket just stole some batteries from them, and that's how we get the plot moving. I like that. I don't know, Dragon. Everything about this movie just really works for me. Like I said, I'm going to give credit where credit's due to the original movie, just because it did come first and it's very iconic. And, all that. But I mean, man, it's they're more neck and neck than I think people give them credit for. Dragon, I really do. I think people kind of view Volume 2 as like, oh yeah, it's good, but it's not great. But I really do think Volume 2 is great. I really do.
So, yeah, I tell you, man, I was rewatching Guardians 2 a while back. It was just coming on TV. I was basically watching it. It was getting to like the death of Yondu part. My God, there's this golden.
Oh, the death of Yondu is like easily the best death in the MCU. Can we agree to that? Well,
I mean, now we can't say, now we can't.
Yeah, not counting Infinity Saga stuff.
That's what I'm saying. When you really
counting,
factor that in.
Okay, in a standalone movie.
Yeah, in a standalone. Sure, yeah, in a standalone, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is one of the most effective. Like there is no way Yondu's going to come back from it either. Although in canon, there is a ghost of Yondu wandering around.
I guess it's a ghost. I mean, he's not alive.
I just love that that's in canon through the theme park attraction.
Okay, my point is that to your Drax point earlier, it's kind of nice that I would argue. I love that Drax has become his arc is that he became not only just the comedy linchpin, but again he warmed up and he kind of had a sense of family with his new guys here, and that's the thing. He became the Uncle Fester of the group,
Absolutely.
And
you know what? Are there one too many like inappropriate bathroom humor gags with Drax? Yeah, there are. Yeah. I won't deny that.
I will admit though. I mean, my nipples is hysterical though. Just no, but there's then the circle it back though. I mean, my favorite part of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, real quick, is easily it's the most pathos-filled moment of the whole thing. Not counting Yondu's death, of course. There are a lot of great moments in the movie too, but it's when Quill's like he's overcome by everything. It's like that moment where Yondu gives him the advice that he needs to save the day. Like, I don't use my head, I use my heart. Of course, before he says heart, we have this quiet moment where Peter Quill reflects on all the connections he has to his friends. We have that moment where he's laughing with Drax, he's flying with Rocket. He has that moment where good morning. We have young Peter Quill being shown how to
Guardians movies, man. These
what I'm saying. You shouldn't have killed my mom and squished my Walkman and just God. So that's what I'm saying. There's so much. The Guardians, you're absolutely right. It is kind of a neck and neck thing, but the problem is the MCU just outdone themselves so many times. That's what pushes it down the list, man. But it's so great though.
I don't know, man. I still think like out of the MCU stuff, Guardians like. I mean, I'm not even gonna beat around the bush. Guardians of the Galaxy, the original, is my highest ranking MCU movie on this list, and I think for good reason. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of the cream of the crop franchise of the MCU. I really do. I think it's got its own voice, it's got its own style. It's basically the new Star Wars by all intents and purposes.
All right, the point is we can talk about Guardians 2 all live long day and just have a good time doing it, folks. We got to move on, though.
It's true.
All right. Okay, number 46 for me should go by rather quickly. Number 46 for me is something you already covered, the Peanuts movie from 2015.
Okay.
All right, so keep it simple. Oh, my God, this is the best blue sky film, no question.
Oh, yeah, easily.
It could have been a real cash-in. That's the thing I want to emphasize. Peasby could have been a real cash-in, like a whole MetLife
I was
thing
really worried about them putting Schultz's name right on it, Dragon. That felt like a bold move.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And we had the Schultz family involved, and it's it's basically they're involved in a good way. Because I've seen like the last thing they did wasn't that great, and before this, and I was like, I don't know, it could go either way. We'll see. It could be like a MetLife cash-in. I don't know, but but no, seriously, this movie, it's a tribute to everything we loved and we still love about the Peanuts, with that extra magic in the narrative. Man, that's the thing that really sets this thing apart. There's a magic in the narrative, which is a bit of the movie. Yes, the movie is a bit of a repackaging of moments. That's like something you could say against it. However, they're repackaging some moments, but again, we're doing it on the big screen. It's momentous for doing it on the big screen, and we're not taking that lightly. Which I'm so glad they didn't just take it lightly. It's like, let's just throw a movie out there. Like, no, we're doing like the Peanuts movies. Like, we're probably not going to do another one. We're going to do one big one. What can we do on screen? Big. Anyway, so this is the most impressive thing about
the movie. It's a lot more momentous in that regard than, let's say, like the Simpsons movie, where it's like we got so much buildup of like the Simpsons movie, and then when that thing finally got crapped out into theaters, it was like, what? We are waiting for that? For a dome over Springfield?
Yeah.
All right.
And here's the thing that really separates it from the pack from it. Even though it is somewhat of a repackaging, aside from just like we're doing it on the big screens, that there's a special layer in this movie. Just the layer of Charlie Brown has an actual shot for a change.
Yeah.
It's doing the thing. It's like basically we are the audience who think we can kick the football. We think Charlie Brown is gonna succeed. And again, we've been told time and time again he's never gonna succeed. Never in your life will you succeed. And it's like it's the style of the film. Of course, we have this. There's a great style of the film. Again, basically we've kind of three-dimensionalized the Peanut style, but yet we're still absolutely faithful to it in every way. Like all the Schultz theories are in there. They when the research for like all the little design work, like little someone gets knocked over, like they're shot out of their clothes. When when they have like the little 6s and the 9s in their eyes, depending on how they look. All those little details. The third act climax. Like here's the thing: the Peanuts movie for me, the third act is the whole. That's the magic. That's like the 1/1000, 2/1000s of the movie, man. It's like the third act climax of him chasing after the little red haired girl. The kite eating tree melon melts me every time, and that's what I'm saying. Like you think Charlie Brown has an actual shot? Like with Charlie Brown, he gets the kite. We give him the kite, man. We give him the kite, and he wins over a little red haired girl. And Tiki, I swear to you, I'm tearing up just talking about it, man. The most beautiful Peanuts movie I've ever seen in my life. Still, I can just hear the score for this thing. It's gonna weld me up. It's just
okay, Dragon. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Like that moment to you is like the moment I always talk about with my dad in the Jungle Book remake, where my dad grew up with the Jungle Book, and he was always crushed by the ending of the Jungle Book. Right? He was always like, "No, I wanted Mowgli to stay in the jungle." And then I went to go see the Jungle Book remake, and I asked, and he asked how it was. And I just looked at him and I was like, Dad, it ends with Mowgli, Baloo, and Bagheera just chilling in a tree. And Dragon, the look on that man's face in that moment was just all pure childhood joy.
How we've not talked about this around Father's Day? That's my real question.
I brought it up. I definitely brought it up.
I know you brought it up, but not like. Okay, okay. My point is, so the moment I'm talking about is the good old Charlie Brown moment at the end, where it's like we pushed them up. Good old Charlie Brown, and basically we have the high of highs music. The music couldn't get any better. Christopher Beck, who did the Frozen score, he does a score on this movie. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. He hoists them up, and then we freeze frame it, and basically we turn into a Charles Schultz. Like we see Charles Schultz' signature. The whole thing turns into a Charles Schultz illustration with him signing it. It's like, oh god, it's the most beautiful Peanuts thing I've ever seen in my whole life. It's like, yes, it's perfect. He kicked the football in life. Charles Schultz in life, he always felt guilty. You never let him kick the football. He still doesn't kick the football. We can't fix him entirely, otherwise he dies as a character. But he got that far with it, man. We gave him a moment.
Oh god, I love the passion, Dragon. I love the passion. All right. Okay, my number 45. Hold on, let me switch over. Yeah, my number 45. This is honestly one of the only films that I've actually seen from Spike Lee, and easily my favorite. I mean, I need to check out stuff. I've heard fantastic things about that. I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't gotten to do the right thing.
What?
Oh, so you haven't gotten to do the right thing.
No, I haven't. No. But anyway, sorry. So I'm sorry. Now I'm distracted. What number are we on? 45. All right, my number 45 is Black Klansman. Got to emphasize those K's, Dragon. But seriously, Black Klansman. So John David Washington. This is basically his audition of like, hey, I want to be a movie star.
Put me in a Nolan movie.
Right, exactly. And Nolan was like, I like this kid. All right. Adam Driver, of course, a go-to talent, and this is one of my favorite Adam Driver performances. I think he's absolutely magnetic. I love the dynamic that he has to go through with the KKK. And I love the whole gimmick of the tension that he's Jewish, but because he's white, he still has the privilege. And Dragon, honestly, that is, to me, stuff political that I actually respond to it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't respond to movies that are just preachy and in your face. And don't get me wrong, this movie does get in your face towards the, at the very end. It does get in your face, but I feel
Yeah.
like it needs to. Honestly, I'm not against it, Dragon. I'm not against it. I've thought long and hard about it. I know that I know that you're not a big fan of how the movie ends, but to me, I think it's actually kind of like Spike Lee sort of pulling us. I think the whole point of this movie is that we're going along on this ride, and it's like, all right, yeah, this fun undercover story, and the KKK are such idiots, and look how stupid the Paul Walter Hauser character is, and everything like that. And then I think at the very end, Spike Lee just rips the Band-Aid out from under you, and he just kind of forces you to walk out of the theater on a somber note, kind of reflecting on yourselves after you've had fun with the concept. And honestly, Dragon, the more I think about that, I think there's a reason why that was left in there, and that's because it's a germ of an idea. A germ, it's like an inception, Dragon. It's like an inception. You know what I mean? It's like just that footage just plants the idea in there of like, we need to do better. We need to change something about what we're doing, because the fact that this stuff is still going on right now, it's not okay. So yeah, Black Klansman, just a really, really great, really engaging undercover cop story mixed with a really, really incredibly powerful political message. Like one of the most powerful political movies I've seen this decade. Woo! All right, that was a mouthful.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. Anything on for you on Black Klansman?
No, it's John David Washington. I mean, the Washington, Denzel's family, man. They have talent pulsating through their blood, man. They really do. It's just, oh my god, I can't wait to see him in Lieutenant, man. I was so sold on him in the movie. It's like I want to see this guy do more things. And he's getting a Nolan movie. The world is just, but not fair. Not judging by the ending of Black Klansman. There's progress to be made, but point being, little victories, folks. Okay.
All right. All right, 45 for you, Dragon.
The Muppets from 2011.
Oh man. This isn't too far off from where I ranked it, but it is on my next list here. It's going to be in part 4. Oh man, and of course, Dragon. Just to tease it up, this is one of the very few 2011 movies left on my list.
Ah. All right. So the Muppets, it's a grand return for beloved icons that are the Muppets. It's basically a getting the band back together story via our new kind of exciting character Walter, who we've still done nothing with really since this kind of this two little this movie, and then kind of a smaller role in the next movie. Done nothing with Walter, unfortunately. Point being, we're kind of getting the band back together through a fan who essentially is the touchstone for us, the audience, who are Muppet fans ourselves. So again, that's kind of the big touchstone. Walter is us. We are the Muppet. Are we a Muppet or are we a man? That's kind of what we also voice in song later. No, but seriously, it's the film.
I honestly think this movie has the best soundtrack out of any Muppet movie.
It is great. I admit this.
I mean, that might be a bold statement, but
before I had to pare things down, I had both of the new Muppet movies on my list, but I had to choose between them. And how can I not go with the original? I mean, that's the thing. As much as I love Tina Fey, and Muppets Most Wanted, I couldn't. I mean, they're all great. Anyway, the point being, this film basically feels like the 1/1000s, 2/1000s of the Peanuts movie, but kind of throughout the whole movie. That's kind of the best way I could kind of economize it. You know, it's like it's kind of like all the third act of the Peanuts movie kind of throughout. You know, in a whole number of parts in this movie. You know, they have the history and the gravitas. You know, it's it's a fun road movie into Muppet nostalgia. You know, very akin to the Muppet movie, which I have a funny Muppet movie story, but I'm going to have to tell you later because we don't have time for it here. Anyway, so seeing, we see where the Muppets would go, if, basically if the group had disbanded. I feel this is a better structured version of Muppets Take Manhattan at the end of the day. Nothing against Muppets Take Manhattan, but this was, I think it's just a better version of how you tell that story. How we get the band back together from, So it's, of course, we kidnap Jack Black for a telethon. There are tons of deep cut references and gags throughout the movie. It's a story at its core. Definitely by the end.
Connection is the hardest that I've cried in a movie this decade, and I have no shame in that.
certainly. And this basically this is a story about why the Muppets matter, and in how things basically how things we care about define us. That's kind of what the story is. It's how why the things that we care about define us, which we see through the
Mhm.
Walter character and through his brother and Jason Segel and the whole shebang there. It's like we literally build to this question at the end of it, like what's in a name. It's literally the question of what's in a name, where the Muppets essentially are kind of like have a risk of losing their names, and it's just the point of the film entirely. It's a perfect return for our band of weirdos and chickens and crazy turkeys. We love these guys.
All right, cool. Alrighty, let's see. My number 44. Oh boy. All right, my number 44. Switching over here. It's gonna be the Lego Movie. Yeah.
Everything is awesome.
I mean, Dragon. What? First of all, I still to this day don't understand how this wasn't nominated for Best Animated Film. I really don't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But Lego Movie. All right, yeah, I am gonna make the point that it is very much a wow, bam, like spectacle. Let's go from world to world and see how much cool shit we can see. But I love that about it. And honestly, Dragon, this movie is just like I love how hyper and fast paced it is. I love how many it's got a wonderful jokes per minute counter to it. It's there's so much going on. Um, I don't think any of the Lego movies after this, I liked Lego Batman, okay, and I like Lego Movie the second part, okay. But man, this one really was just kind of the original gem of a movie that just I mean everything about it was just kind of perfectly paced. The comedy writing was just so on point. All the cameos were just perfectly placed. I just think the reverence for the entire Lego franchise was just very well handled. Like I said, I do think that this is kind of like the world hopping of Wreck-It Ralph done more ambitiously and kind of done more in the style of what I imagined the world hopping in Wreck-It Ralph would have been like. Just everything about it is so frenetic and chaotic, and the animation is absolutely gorgeous, and it looks just like stop motion, and I love it about that. Man, of course, Will Ferrell as Lord Business is just hilarious. One of Will Ferrell's best performances. As time goes on, I feel like I respect the twist at the end more and more and more. Yeah, just all kinds of good things to say about the Lego Movie, Dragon. In a word, awesome.
All
Right. I'm sure you have it higher, right?
right. Yeah, a little higher, yeah.
A little higher. All right. Fair enough. All right. Go ahead. 44.
44 for me. Arthur Christmas from 2011.
Yeah, you see, I'm kind of surprised that that this beat out Klaus, but I haven't seen this one in a while, so.
That's the thing, man. Like, so Aardman, Aardman, they're continuing this movie. They continue the transition to CG, and they're not missing a step, man. They are not missing a step. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, now they're still doing a little blend of stop motion and the CG, of course. But again, this movie, it's a for me, it's a new holiday tradition. Again, of course, now Klaus is added to it as well. But that's when I remember when Klaus came out, and I said, we haven't had a Christmas classic since Arthur Christmas. And again,
Right.
Klaus is. Maybe it's a bit of a recency thing. Maybe that's why. I don't know. The point being, Arthur Christmas has the numbers on, man. I've been watching this for a long while, and I love this movie to pieces. One of Aardman's best stories. I got to give him points because Aardman, many a time there's a decent story. There's also it's amazing look and amazing kind of fast beat comedy. The style of Aardman's a lot of the reason you go to it. Wallace and Gromit, Chris Ware, it's a great story. I'll give you that. But looking to this decade, Arthur Christmas, it's just you have a family of Santa Clauses. You have this great legacy component with that. They're all wonderfully played by great actors. You have a really likable lead in Arthur, one of James McAvoy's great performances. Again, kind of like gets lost in the shuffle because you have the character in Split, Charles Xavier, but again, Arthur Christmas, man. It's You have nonstop comedy. You have this great design work within the piece. And I love again the illogical logic of like how we do Christmas here. We have this giant. Like, how do you get across the world in one night? Where you have this giant, essentially giant Star Trek level spaceship that basically makes it seem like nighttime. It's just genius. And you have like all basically Santa Claus is like a fatty in a suit, a figurehead, as Grand Santa puts it, which is genius. And that's what I'm saying. I love. It's such a brilliant movie and brilliant with the illogical logic. Brilliant in so many. God knows so many great ways. There's a very sweet heart to the film. The scene between the brothers, the scene between Arthur and Steve, is just the scene where he opens all the doors. And Steve, you can be Santa next year. Surely your father's gonna.
Yeah.
Just like that moment. Oh God, it's so great. And of course, ultimately, the ending. The ending to me is just is a perfect Christmas movie ending. It really is just like this real realization between the family and between Steve and his father, and it's like we're all four Santas in the same this little broom closet. It's like it's this perfect little moment. It's such a great little holiday movie, and just Aardman just firing all cylinders. And Aardman doing what they do best, man. It's just I can't Art the Christmas. It just turned out so well.
All right, cool. All right, my number 43, Dragon. This is a movie I'm curious to see if you've even heard of. The Place Beyond the Pines. Anything?
Vaguely familiar. Vaguely.
All right. It's got my boy. It's got my boy.
Gosling?
Gosling. That's right. So Place Beyond the Pines is a very interesting, intense movie. Ryan Gosling is a bank robber with a heart of gold. He is a bank robber who is doing everything that he's doing because he has no other options left and he needs to support his family. His family means everything to him, his wife and his young kid. Dragon, things go awry. Things go awry in this movie, and I don't. But let's just say the second act takes a dramatic turn, and it's one of those movies. It's kind of like a Psycho style movie where there's a certain point in this movie where you're like, oh God, well, what's going to happen next? What's the rest of the movie going to be? So in some ways, Dragon, this is very much kind of like a two-part movie. Part one is very riveting, very suspenseful. Part two is very meditative. But in that way, I feel like it perfectly complements the title of The Place Beyond the Pines. It's a place of danger. It's a place of chaos, but it's also a place of reflection and serenity. And man, I just feel like all the themes of the movie just really come together in a very rock solid, razor sharp way. I mean, of course, Ryan Gosling is just fantastic as ever here. I don't really have that much to say about it. It's if you're into movies about kind of like the hard labor of crime and sort of like criminals who aren't who aren't necessarily in the crime world for nefarious reasons, but more so because they have no other options. And if you're into stories about the humanity of the crime world, I think you'd really dig this. And then also, it's a movie, like I said, that has a dramatic shift in the second act. That it feels like a two-act play in some ways. It really does. So I would highly recommend it.
Okay.
I don't know if I recommend it for you specifically, but just in general, if you're into this type of stuff, if you're into this kind of like meditative character piece about nefarious characters who have hearts of gold, yeah, you'd be into it. All right, go ahead.
All right, number 43, Black Panther from 2018.
Nice.
So I was a little torn between because originally I had roughly 10 MCU movies on my list, which I then had to cut a few. So I was torn between.
Do you have a number of MCU movies that you would like to reveal?
Not that I'm proud of. I don't think.
Can you reveal it at the end of the countdown?
Okay. I can just tell you how many MCU movies I have on the list as a total. I'm just saying it's not. I said a few. I was exaggerating. I had to only eliminate. I eliminated a few, but I ended up with 9. I have 9 MCU movies.
Oh God!
It was more.
I think I have like 5. So
Basically, I had to cut 2. I had to cut Homecoming, and I had to cut Thor Ragnarok. It really hurt me to cut Ragnarok. I really wanted it on there. I had to. So basically,
Ooh,
this is what
Ragnarok was the hard cut for me.
it
Yeah.
was. So this is what I'm saying. So it was between this and Ragnarok at the end of the day, and I ended up as fun as Ragnarok is. There's something special about Black Panther. There really is something special about this movie. So everything really came together well on this one. It's as I've said before, even when it came out, this movie is very much. I can only assume that this. I can only imagine this is like the Superman '78. This is like the Superman '78 equivalent for African Americans. You know, it is in many
I
ways.
mean,
Like
it's not just for African Americans. It's like the Superman 78 just for Black Panther in general, just because it's that good of an origin story. But I know what you're saying. I know what
yeah.
you're saying. It definitely is like like a watershed moment in pop culture. I'm just saying it's such a good origin story that I just feel like it kind of transcends race almost.
Well, you're right about that, absolutely. But what I'm getting at too is like on my side of things that I could have gone home happy after just the little glimpse that we got of Black Panther and Civil War because I was so happy just seeing him there and seeing like and I could watch the end of Act One of Civil War all the live long day I could.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
But again, this is tremendous. The fact that we got more and he was so well represented, it was like, oh god, we got a whole movie. We got to go to Wakanda. Oh my goodness, how it doesn't get any better than this. And it's not just the fact that we saw Black Panther, it's not just the fact that we went to Wakanda, it's not just the fact that we just got like the gadget fan in me. It was elated by this movie. It's everything I've ever loved about Black
I'm sure
Panther.
it was. Yeah, yeah.
Just as a character, the fact that Black Panther, he's a king. He's kind of this capital. He's kind of struggling with leadership. He's also like the greatest warrior. He's got all the Dora Milaje. We got all the great stuff about Black Panther, but also we have a really compelling story in just the sheer strength of our villain with Killmonger. I mean, Eric Killmonger with Michael B. Jordan's performance. The ancestral plane stuff alone. I mean, the ancestral plane with we learn about kind of the reveal about Killmonger's father and all that sort of stuff, and it's powerful. It's very powerful. I loved T'Challa's arc. I love T'Challa's arc, and specifically with the big thing with the ancestral plane, where he kind of revisits it. And I always say this. My favorite bit of Chadwick Boseman acting and probably the whole MCU is when he shouts to his father and all the previous kind of generations, like "You were wrong, you were all wrong," because he's so hurt.
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
calling
yeah.
him out like the hypocrisy of you were wrong to do these things. You've wrecked it. You created Killmonger. You created this situation. You were all wrong. I'm not going to be like you. It's such a powerful moment. And in short, the film is a testament to a great character, and just it really opens up the MCU to many possibilities in a number of ways. It's just I can't get enough of Black Panther. It's so good. It's so rewatchable. It's tremendous.
Cool, cool. All right, next up, Dragon is a movie that you might think probably needs to be higher on my list. But you know what? I feel like all things considered, I feel like it's in a very respectable position. It's over halfway down. Logan. Logan is my number 42.
Hmm.
Um,
By the way, speaking of number 42, Mandalorian loves he thought 42 would be on his decade list too. The movie 42. Just wanted to shout that out while we're here.
yeah, yeah. Also, just to get in some years, which I'm sorry I keep neglecting to do.
Are you allergic to the years or not?
Apparently. Let's see. Volume 2. 2017, Black Klansman. 2018, Lego Movie. 2014, Place Beyond the Pines. 2013, and Logan in 2017. What more needs to be said about Logan, Dragon? I mean, I think you and I can agree that the Dolby Atmos experience for this movie was freaking incredible. Like one of the best Dolby Atmos experiences I've ever had in a theater. But I mean, that doesn't count for the actual movie itself. I'm just saying, in terms of if we're talking in theater experiences, which we have been from time to time on this list. But yeah, the movie itself, I mean, God, man, just what a great Dragon. Honestly, I feel like this movie does, the dark and gritty kind of realistic, okay, we're going to take a superhero, we're going to take a comic book character and ground him in utter realism. I honestly think this movie does it better than Joker does. I really do. I mean, I know it's kind of two different sorts of takes and grounding in realism, but I feel like this film is just really soaked in art house, but not in an imitation sort of way. I feel like this film, it takes kind of those Western qualities that we love about films like Shane and Oh God, I'm sorry. What's the Clint Eastwood
Uh,
one? I'm Unforgiven. Unforgiven. I'm sorry. We love those old kind of those old Western movies. And this one doesn't just take like, all right, it's Logan, but it's Unforgiven. Uh, no, this one it remixes everything in its own way, and it's very unique for that. And of course, like Hugh Jackman is just on fire. Just this is just absolutely wonderful. Patrick Stewart, I honestly think it's kind of a crime that he didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this movie. He's heartbreaking. Um, God, just so many great things about this movie. Of course, that ending, man, the ending just crushes you every time. Just, I will say, I think probably the weak point of the movie, yeah, is probably the villain. He's not bad. I just don't think he's very memorable. Um, but I mean, other than that, the movie does have just so many things going for it. It's by far the most gritty and raw and realistic of all the X-Men movies. I think it's such a great send off to the character, and I absolutely think this is like a great send off to the franchise as well. I mean, I'll keep watching Deadpool movies. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I'm ever gonna sit down and watch Dark Phoenix. I really don't, Dragon. So yeah, just in terms of like a final note to end some of these iconic characters on, Logan is it, man. Logan is just it's a big deal, and I'm sure you have it a lot higher, and that's fine. You're more the genre guy. But yeah, for me, it's great. It's great. I mean, it deserves all the hype it gets.
all right.
All right.
Okay, number 42 for me, a documentary.
Ooh,
It
okay.
is
I've been waiting to get to this.
Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, or the full title. I'm going to take a deep breath for this one.
Oh God. Oh God.
Featuring a very special contractually obligated mention of Tony Clifton from 2017. When we do the end listing, I'm not going to say all that. I'm just going to give Jim and
Fair
Andy.
enough. Fair enough.
All right. So, Jim and Andy, this was a documentary by Chris Smith, who, by the way, did the Fire documentary on Netflix, too. That was him, too.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was the same
Nice,
guy. A
nice.
little fun fact I completely forgot about until I was doing a little bona fide on this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so Chris Smith, he did this, he directed this. And basically what he did is he assumed he kind of archived and also sat down for the main interview of the piece. Basically archived the famed lost footage of Man on the Moon, of Jim Carrey, kind of basically doing his own kind of version of a press kit by basically showing the behind the scenes of the movie, getting getting Andy Kaufman's his girlfriend and Bob Zamuda in on the project, basically then kind of behind the camera shooting the whole affair and directing what they assume would either be they end up being a documentary or at least a really good behind the scenes look for the movie. And I was looking forward to this thing because I remember I love Man on the Moon. And I love the story of Andy Kaufman's possibly Jim Carrey's finest performance, Man on the Moon, quite possibly. And okay, not
best
counting
film performance.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean. I mean film performance. Best film performance.
I'm just saying, like, hitting is like Jim Carrey's like Twilight years, but it's just like on another level, man.
Okay, fine. His best film performance. My point is, Man on the Moon, of course, as much as I love that movie, the bonus features were very lacking. It was only like one little feature, and of course now we know the reason for that.
Right.
So they announced this. I was very excited for it. And I got my money. I got my Netflix worth watching this, man. It was it's the most meta documentary I think ever made. The most meta documentary you're ever going to watch.
Man, the Banksy one. The Banksy one is
it really that meta
in its own right? Yeah, I think so.
Fair.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
One of the most meta documentaries ever made. Anyway, so. I'm brimming about it, man. I've rewatched this so many times. I love the whole concept of Carrey, reflecting modern day Carrey, like let's just call him the enlightened phase of Carrey. You can say that kind of the Twilight, Jim Carrey in his Twilight. So it's kind of the enlightened phase of Jim Carrey. He's really reflecting on things very openly, very honestly. Kind of after that. Anyway, point being, so it's getting like as honest a kind of a Q&A as you're ever going to get from Jim Carrey in your life. It's as honest a sit down as you're ever going to get. Like the headiest sit down. It's basically the whole film is like a true stranger than fiction situation. It's a great truth is stranger than fiction. There's so many things happening you can't believe that are happening. Like people are believing that they are their roles. He's basically so convinced. He's basically going method. Like kicks the crap out of what Jared Leto was doing. Like curb stomps what Jared Leto was trying to do. Where Jim Carrey actually became Andy Kaufman. Not only did he become Andy Kaufman, he became Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton. And Jim
Oh
Carrey.
God, yeah.
It's too meta for me to even to list because they have Jim Carrey pretending to be Andy Kaufman for a moment. It's crazy. And of course, like the Hefner party goes to Hugh Hefner's party. I think the most heady thing of the whole piece is him trying to replicate the rivalry with Jerry the King Lawler without realizing that Andy Kaufman and Jerry King Lawler weren't actually in a rivalry. They were pretending, but he's actually, oh God, it's so
the most
much.
petty thing to me was his interactions with the children, with the kids of Andy Kaufman.
Yes, and that's great, and of course, like the parents of Andy Kaufman too, and oh God, getting the permission from the parents. It's just always the whole movie is just crazy and wonderful, and you got to see it to believe it, folks. It's just oh my God, it's one of the all time great documentaries. It's still to me the biggest robbery of a documentary at the Oscars that didn't get nominated and it was a crappy. I know Icarus was okay, but let's be honest.
Second biggest.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I forgot that. Yes,
just saying. Just saying.
You're right. The point is one of that year though. It was very aggressive.
Yeah.
Icarus was fine, but let's come on. This would kick the crap out of Icarus. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, number 41, Dragon, should go by very fast because it's a movie that you've already talked about. And I kind of said my piece on it already, honestly, is Marriage Story. Yeah. I followed Noah Baumbach's career from the beginning, from Squid and the Whale onwards, and I feel like this is a really interesting kind of bookend to Squid and the Whale. Because as you said, Squid and the Whale is kind of from the kid's perspective. This is the adult's perspective. And Dragon, I mean, we could just talk blue in the face about, like, there's no hero and no villain. It's so morally gray. It's wonderful. Shades of gray all the way.
She promised to do it amicably.
God. First of all, I love Laura Dern. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like if I was voting in that pool of actresses for Best Supporting Actress, I would have voted for Florence Pugh, honestly. But Laura Dern is just great. I mean, I'm not sad that Laura Dern won. She is just such a shit disturber in this movie, but I love how she stirs the shit with a smile on her face and with genuine, like, oh, let me get you some coffee. Let me run you through the sandwich that we're gonna eat. It's a really good salad, and now I'm gonna cut your throat. There's such a great dynamic there, and the score is wonderful. It's written very well. I don't know, man. I don't have too much more to say about it that you haven't already covered or that I didn't already comment on when you got to your say on this movie. I just really think it's kind of like an epic of human drama. I really do. It's like, of course, it reaches the boiling point with that fight scene that, Dragon, I feel like that fight scene is almost kind of like in danger of becoming overly memed, because I feel like it's one of those scenes that might honestly kind of like lose its power if it gets parodied too much. But I mean, honestly, I saw the movie like among the first hours it was available on Netflix for me. And so I saw that fight scene very raw, before I saw any memes about it or anything like that. And yeah, it stuck out. It really is a wow moment of acting on both their parts. And Adam Driver, I feel like, has been getting most of the attention, but Scarlett Johansson as well is just wonderful in this. I mean, everyone. And Dragon, it's so nice to see Wallace. I've said this before, but like, it's so nice to see Wallace Shawn back in essentially back in My Dinner with Andre mode of kind of like playing this upper crust New York theater guy. So there's just a lot to love about this movie, man. There really is. It's such a compelling character piece, and I feel like it's very appropriate that it's kind of sitting here right in the middle. I feel like it's a new it's like a contemporary adult drama classic, I feel.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Big moment, Dragon. Big moment. End it off.
41 for me. Without it, I tell you, I have no hesitation where I knew exactly where this one was going. I had no doubt in my mind. Ant-Man from 2015. Oh boy, I've talked about Ant-Man a lot. I'm going to try to keep it simple here. So, Ant-Man is possibly the most rewatchable MCU movie, at least for me. I find Ant-Man just the most likable franchise and character in the MCU. Basically, we took Ant-Man, we kind of, how do we spice up Ant-Man? We kind of made like a Batman Beyond hybrid almost, where it's like we take the generations, we made Ant-Man a legacy character. I have no idea how they pulled that off, but they did it and it worked. The man is, he's kind of a legacy character, but like we threw, like everyone forgets that with Ant-Man. It's like we're always thinking, okay, it's just the guy. They shoot him down. He's the guy who talks to the ants. Sometimes he grows big, sometimes not. As the ants, he was a founding member of the Avengers. But that's all we know about the guy. And of course, infamously,
right.
One iteration hit his wife, and now we can never get away from it, which is unfortunate. Point being, the Ant-Man that we have here, again, it's kind of a Batman Beyond take on the Ant-Man story that somehow worked. You have two Ant-Men for the price of one. The story, it's really the story of fathers doing right by their daughters and making up for their past mistakes. It's very funny. Of course, you have the incomparable Paul Rudd in there. Also, of course, you have Michael Pena as Luis and all the comedy and the fun that can be had there. Visually, it's very dazzling. All of our shrinking effects, they look tremendous. Again, like you shrink down to the tub for
I
the
feel
first
like
time.
you can still have the you can still feel the Edgar Wright fingerprints on this one.
You can. I mean, of course, you have just kind of the meat. You have kind of the fun novelty of like the big famous Marvel crossover interaction with Falcon and Ant-Man having their little altercation, which is just great. And again, it does build a friendship.
Dragon, that scene is very likably quaint in comparison to like where we would be going in terms of crossover like later on in the MCU.
Yeah, so it's so fun. It's just so
I know it's fun. I know.
But yes, I mean this movie. Just honestly, the thing Ant-Man really has going for. We can probably put the banner up now too. By the way.
You were reading my mind. That was almost creepy. Get out of my head, Dragon.
So this movie is. I said the best way I can put this movie is this movie is a perfectly scaled introduction to character to this character and doing it via this simple heist film with heart. It's a simple heist film with kind of this heartfelt goal of a father reuniting with his daughter, no matter what it takes, no matter what it costs. I'm just trying to reunite with his daughter. I think Marvel Studios, they did the impossible. They pulled kind of the Aquaman equivalent with this. Where Ant-Man was the one who said for many years, like, "Oh, what's happening? He's in the works." And we're like, we have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea how to legitimize Ant-Man. We have Edgar Wright in the work. I mean, that's the best we got, and we'll see how that works. And now Edgar Wright's gonna either he doesn't want that Falcon scene there or something. I don't know. Edgar Wright wants to bail. But again, I know Edgar Wright, obviously the fingerprints there, and Edgar Wright did a great job. I'm sure what ended up. The point being, we made an Ant-Man film.
I'm absolutely convinced that at the very least, the Louise storytelling gag is an Edgar Wright thing. I'm convinced of that.
It has to be, right? Yeah. Anyway, so point being, I think Marvel Studios did the impossible. They made Ant-Man a household name, which never in a million years would I've expected, and I love it. And again, I rewatch this film the regular. If it comes on TV, I'm probably gonna watch a few minutes of it. Man, Ant-Man's just it's the most one of the most pleasant movies you could watch. Really, it's fun.
All right, and thus ends part 3, Dragon. Thus ends part 3. Dragon, I promise you that by the time we get to the next part, what I am going to do is I'm going to have a breakdown of how many movies from each year I have done so far in my 3 parts already, and also how many movies from each year still need to go. So I'm gonna make a game out of that. Like I'm gonna emphasize that a lot more in the last 2 parts. I want to ensure you of that.
I just want you to remember the years, Tiki. That's all I want you to remember.
I know, but I'm gonna do the mental gymnastics to really kind of play some stats on this in terms of like as we get into the top 40 of the decade. I really am interested, at least for my own interest, of seeing because I did do this experiment of 10 movies from 10 years to see which years really do stack up. Like, what are the top years? So that'll be fun. Any final thoughts on this, Dragon, or should we run down our lists?
Let's just run down our list. We'll quickly recap them. And points going forward, folks, we're getting to the upper echelon. That's all we really need to say in regards to that. So, yeah, let's run them down.
Okay, starting with you or starting with me?
Whatever. I mean, do you want to go first or what?
I'll do it. All right, number 60, Saving Mr. Banks from 2013. Number 59, Beasts of the Southern Wild, 2012. Number 58, A Quiet Place, 2018. Number 57, Youth in Revolt, 2010. Number 56, Babadook from 2014. Number 55, This Is the End, 2013. Number 54, A Star is Born, 2018. Number 53, The Avengers from 2012. Number 52, Flight from 2012. Number 51 is Zootopia from 2016. Number 50, Ex Machina, 2015. Number 49, The Peanuts Movie, 2015. Number 48, War for the Planet of the Apes, 2017. Number 47, The Last Exorcism, 2010. 46, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, 2017. Number 45, Black Klansman, 2018. Number 44, The Lego Movie, 2014. Number 43, The Place Beyond the Pines, 2013. Number 42, Logan, 2017. And finally, number 41, Marriage Story, 2019. What do you got, Dragon?
All right. Number 60, Searching from 2018. Number 59, Marriage Story from 2019. Number 58, Shazam from 2019. Number 57, War for the Planet of the Apes from 2017. Number 56, Bad Times at the El Royale from 2018. Number 55, The Irishman from 2019. Number 54, Knives Out, 2019. Number 53, Birdman, 2014. Number 52, Alita Battle Angel, from 2019. Number 51, The Iceman, from 2012. Number 50, Klaus, from 2019. Number 49, Django Unchained, from 2012. Number 48, Star Wars The Force Awakens, 2015. Number 47, Wreck-It Ralph from 2012. Number 46, The Peanuts Movie from 2015. Number 45, The Muppets from 2011. Number 44, Arthur Christmas, also from 2011. Number 43, Black Panther from 2018. Number 42, Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond from 2017. And number 41, Ant-Man from 2015.
All right. So thanks for watching, folks. Big thanks to Mandalorian and Simba Trey in the comments for joining us earlier. And Dragon, this is an exciting time because now we're getting into the real nitty gritty. Now we're getting into the stuff that's like definitively past the halfway point. We're getting into the real upper echelon here. So essentially, folks, we're going to do one pre-trip podcast, which is going to be at the end of the month, probably the last Friday of the month, and that's going to be numbers 40 through 21. And then sometime after I get back, I can't guarantee exactly when because we're going to have a lot of catch up to do. But sometime after I get back, sometime in March, we'll have the finale. We'll have the top 20, and that'll be a big one, Dragon. That'll be a really big one. All right. So without further ado, folks, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next one. Have a good night. See you later.
Ant-Man. I know you've heard of Ant-Man.